Hello and welcome to BonkTable. I'm Mass. There's another Adepticon podcast with Brian, Karl, and Big Mike. May you please introduce yourself. Brian first.
Hi.
Karl second.
Hello.
Big Mike third.
I like calling Big Mike. Everybody else gets just their first name. But hi.
Well, that's what you always just, like, everyone says you are, and that's how I know you as.
True.
You should.
It's an app description.
Yeah. Well, you should see me with Rolo because it's like that's not his actual name, and everyone's like Dan, and I'm like, yeah, Rolo, get over here. It's because that's how I know him.
I think I've only called Apex Chinchilla John like once.
The only time I ever called him John is when I stayed over at his house before Michigan GT, and we hung out for the entire weekend. And then it's just like, Apex, what you doing?
He's like mommy pilled chinchilla now though, so we might have to update his title there.
Oh no, don't. Who did I changed one person's name? Oh, I think it was Jeff. I think I changed his name to Tongue Painter from some of the shit he said. And he was
that one was pretty good.
He was
pretty fun.
Messaging me, and I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And supposedly he messaged Karl first about changing his name.
I changed Steve's back to the lore expert after I felt bad for the previous name that I gave him.
Lost to a child. Oh, it was sad.
Yeah.
You did that to him? I thought that was Steve embracing some self-irony there. That's so cruel.
No, that was me, and then I felt bad about it, so I changed it back after a couple days.
Karl
I changed it to something else.
abusing mod abuse. We need to I need to update a photo for you of that so you could just put it as your profile pic. Domain expand mod abuse. So for our listeners, I've invited these three wonderful gentlemen on to talk about their their Adepticon experience. LVO might trickle in. I'm not exactly sure. But the first thing I really want to talk about with these gentlemen is how you found the overall tournament before we get into each round. We're going to start with Big Mike, Karl, then Brian. There might be a reason why for that. And we'll go round by round. We'll talk about a bunch of stuff. But first off, overall con experience, how did you feel? Big Mike, you're first.
I was pretty happy with it. I think the day leading into pre-con was kind of rough as we were seeing how the terrain was going to be if things didn't get fixed. And so I think that started off pretty tense, right? When you're looking at the board and going, how the heck am I supposed to play on this? But I think once we got rolling, aside from some setup issues, Rolo was great, as a judge. Everybody was fantastic to play with. So I think overall I had a pretty positive experience.
That's good. Karl, what was your thoughts about it?
I loved it. It was a good con. One of my favorite tournaments. It's hard to beat the Waters of Heos, or the Waters around Heos, but it was really good. Dan, Rolo really just went above and beyond this year in spite of major adversity, as always, and he gave us a good tournament, and he did the best that he could, and he's a fantastic TO.
Yes, I do agree. Brian, what was your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'll echo everything else said here. Dan in particular, as always. Rolo, cheers to you, sir. Fantastic guy. Always runs great tournaments. The terrain was definitely I was ranting about the situation because he had shown us pictures before we set out, so I was ranting at it my poor girlfriend the entire way up there. So it was a little bit of a heartburn out of the gate, but we got around it. I will add to all of this that this was the first year in Milwaukee for Adepticon, and I gotta say, Milwaukee won me over. I quite like Milwaukee. At least the limited experience of kind of just hanging around the hall. There, Baird Center. Baird Center was really nice, really spacious. Obviously, it was a big upgrade over Schaumburg. And the restaurant scene in that immediate space, miles ahead of fucking Schaumburg. So
yeah, there was this really good pizza place about 10 minutes northeast of the...
Oh, God. No. It's really good at making you want to leave there. I don't even have a good joke to fucking bounce off of that. That was just not a great time. But there's a delicious Italian restaurant. There's a delicious German restaurant that I missed out on, unfortunately, but we'll be heading some point soon. Yeah, there's also the apparently, I don't know if it's famous. It's famous in my heart. The beer wall
Oh,
in the 3rd Street Market Hall.
yeah, that was really good.
Oh my god. Oh my god, dude.
I'm excited to go back next year and partake.
Yeah. So, yeah, great time all around.
No, it's I do agree. I also like that you could just go at the venue like I drove up and parked at like 6 a.m. and then we just walked around. It's great for walking to hit up all these different places and everything was close by. Like I greatly appreciated that and just not having to drive around and figure where things were out. It's just like, all right, here we go. Let's go walk over there. Perfect food, drink, whatever.
Very walkable city.
Yeah.
Definitely enjoyed that too, yeah.
Yeah. I also agree that Rolo did a fantastic job. I know there is chatter in the background of making sure that Rolo has everything he needs going forward, provided by the community members, just so that everything goes smoother going forward. And I'll be glad to help out with that as well. I know some of the other gentlemen who are more local to Rolo are also doing that, so we just have a better experience for next year. And he does such a great job. No one ever wants to see him fail due to circumstances that are outside of his control. So, and he does a great job anyway, even with what he has. So next year, I hope it's even better.
Here.
This is, I mean, I'll fucking straight up say, for the love of God, PB, like, I don't know if you just need to glue your fucking terrain box to one of your employees' backs so that they can't possibly lose it.
Oh,
but the fact that this happens, like, every year is starting to get fucking absurd.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
What
like,
was
I'm just gonna straight up say that.
We're gonna duct tape it to like Yanni's chest. He's like, I gotta bring so much other stuff. Yeah, and you can wear this box of terrain. Let's go.
Yeah.
Because
they can't fit him on the plane that way. He'll just cling to the wing.
Yeah, who cares? We
box terrain on his chest.
Duct tape him to the wing. Fuck it.
Yeah. He'll be alright.
Because wasn't one of their plans on Thursday when they realized they didn't have the train was to ship it for Friday morning from Greece? And I'm like, there's no way it's gonna get here on time.
Yeah, I don't know what all options they were considering. I'm assuming they're just as tired as, like, you know, having to fucking break out the company credit card to buy a bunch of terrain at the fucking con. Like, but, you know, don't bring it on your fucking self.
Yeah, like at this point, just leave it with Rolo. Just like get him good train sets for 32 tables and he's good.
Yeah, sure.
And then he can carry it because he lives in America and, you know, the box is at least in the country. So yeah, it's rough. What other aspects of the tournament itself that would you gentlemen like to touch on before we get into rounds and all that?
I think we can just hit rounds and we'll come up with more stuff as we go, of course.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
So, Big Mike, round one. Before we get into round one, we should talk about what you guys played. I think a lot of people would like that, and if you could please DM me your list so I can throw it in the description for everybody. They'd probably want to read it. I also believe there's an article written about it at Parabellum. I can also just
you can just link the article, and then we don't have to do any extra work.
Yes, we shall do that. We'll find out if Editing Mass even remembers this conversation. So Big Mike, we'll still get you to like walk through the list and kind of talk about your ideas and why you played such a thing and all that jazz. So we'll start with that.
Yeah, so I played a version of Ghost Jail, the version of Ghost Jail. I don't know what you want to call it, but this is one that was different from my LVO list because I used to run the Prate block. And talking to Karl and a few other guys, I got talked into giving it a shot without it. And God, I feel the need to never have it in a list again after running this. Because, the Morai, I run 2 units of those. They put out great early pressure, and they do what Morai do. They stick around longer than they should. I had the big block of 5 cares, which is something I didn't run in the past. And aside from having a good threat range with its spell, I also liked being able to spread it wide and use it as screening for when I went against, let's say slingers, and wanted to protect something else more than I wanted to protect those guys. I had 2 units of Athanatoi because they are godlike right now, with the Strategos in one giving them Linebreaker, just because when you add Linebreaker to basically hitting 17 attacks, right? Like, it just changes the output and what they go against. And if your opponent doesn't realize it and they're running one of the many units with shields or bastion, hoping that gets them through it, it really catches them off guard. I had the Kyriadids, I had Legionnaires with the Hierodeacon, I had the Cultists with the Hierodeacon, the Legionnaires with the Archimandrite. I had a Legionnaire unit with an Optio just because, as a medium, they're one I'm probably not picking on my first reinforcement, but I can use them to snipe a zone from any of the sides because my reinforcement line is very often near the middle of the table. The big change I think I did compared to Karl's list or some of the other ones is I traded out some stuff to get the Bucephaloi or Bucephaloi, however you want to pronounce it. And I think they really help overall in this list because the list isn't running a ton of cleave. And while there is a lot of E2 out there right now, especially if you're running into like Nords players, there are just things out there that have a really high defense that sometimes you need to crack through, looking at you, Ash and Dawn. And having these guys there that can both, take a hit really well and throw out some heavy cleave damage. They did what the rest of my list wasn't doing and filled a gap for it. So that was my list and kind of why I brought those things.
Nice. I quite like it a lot. I also like the tech switch into the Bucephaloi for the extra cleave, so you can just kind of do the armor cracking when you need it. I like that.
Yeah, and it came up a few times, especially playing city states.
I could see that. Well, actually, the Talos will actually suffer -1 defense finally if you had to fight one of those.
Oh yeah. Talos is great. If you go against an Apex, they can chew through an Apex easier. They've got a lot of good stuff to them.
No, I'm glad.
Yeah, having seen it in action, I think I'm a lot more on board with with the cows.
The boos.
Yeah, the Bucephalus, the cows. Yeah, I'm very on board with it. Because the only thing it loses versus the version that I wrote was, I think, like, it has Leah's what's its fuck on the Archimandrite or something like that.
The reroll, like I think the reroll 6s on spells or something.
Yeah, and they're just mean to chew through with that with that D3 6-rune Tenacious. So yeah, no, I like them a lot.
And E2, right? Like that's the other thing. They're not taking a big hit from cleaves.
Yeah, I mean, like, we'll get into it when we cover our game, but like the cows were kind of the one thing that I never really I never really killed them when we played. But
also, like, the loss of the Praetorian block, like, I played an Old Dominion player at Adepticon who was using one, and it was kind of like, cool, you'll take over a zone or I'll zone you out, but you're never gonna, like, push or really do anything. You kind of just say, I am here, this is mine. And if you kind of get zoned out or, like, stuck in, it's not really doing a whole ton. And most of the time, people just ignore it anyway. So I do agree with, like, the change, moving away from the Praetorians.
Well, and here's the other thing is, like, some of the, I think, big lists you see now, they tend to run at least one thing that has line breaker, right? Like, if I'm going into Wadroon and I'm seeing 2 freaking Thunder Rider units across from me, I know my Prate block is just dead, right? They're not going to survive it. And with the Strategos as your Warlord, having that one round where you can do the free reform to get the extra threat range, like, it's, for me at least, it's all about just having that extended threat to put the pressure on them rather than taking a hit to take the pressure where you're at.
Yeah, like, also the game itself is sped up, and Praetorians have not stayed up on that level of speed, like the overall Conquest itself.
Yeah, your brick cannot be behind the rest of your army.
No. Well, thank you very much. Karl, what, I heard you swap from Nords to Wadroon. Tell me about it, please.
Chasing the meta.
Perfect. He's a meta hunter. He's a meta hunter.
No, so honestly, it was a I'm glad I did Adepticon. If I'm being fully honest, I was almost considering a drop leading up to a couple weeks before. I didn't really tell anyone, but just have been in the middle of buying property or buying a condo, and I was actually closing the week after Adepticon and was just very busy with stuff, didn't have time to work on models, so it was either And I didn't have a Spires list. That was good to go. My Nords, I hadn't even put Primer on them, so it was like, okay, I need to borrow a faction from someone, or I actually, like, I'm not going to be able to play. But our buddy Jeff was so gracious and let me use his Woodrune for it, so that got me on the table.
I'm glad. I also know that you paid him by three color minimum his city-states.
Yes, a unit of Phalangites, and then I'm actually gonna bulk ship all of my city-states crap that I have over to him because I don't need it anymore. Yeah. But, yeah, so my list was a Tribes Woodrune list, really based around veterans, mostly because I really like veterans right now, and I like that they're good. So it was a Chieftain Warlord with Kiss of the Dilosaur, which was a last-minute thing. Conquest and Visions, of course, as always. And he was in a unit of 5 veterans. And then I had 2 veteran MSUs and a Slinger MSU in his warband. The Slinger MSU is pretty key there because it lets them chant Conquest on turn 2. Which gives the tech to allow you to chant Conquest onto the table with the Chosen of Conquest on turn 2, which is a huge tech piece that I used quite a bit. That I had a Predator with he was Famine, everything else was he was Famine, he was in the Slinger MSU, and then I just had 2 hunting packs, Apex Pred. Didn't have any upgrades on him. I moved Kiss from him over to the Chieftain last minute, which was a very fun, good move. And then I had the Scion of Conquest in a unit of 4 Chosen with Roar of the Tribe for Blessed when they chant. So just kind of a bread and butter Tribes 12-card list. Everything's just so damn efficient there.
Yeah, also Blessing Your Cock I found was very good, and also kind of punches up its weight class by quite a bit.
Absolutely.
I like your list by how, I don't want to say it's simple, because it's not, but like how each piece is kind of like independent, but also works really well with each other. Like it's like, you kind of just like puzzle piece it together, and you're like, yeah, it all looks good by itself, but like it works better if you just have it all together. And then when you start losing pieces, it doesn't seem like you ever hit a point of like critical catastrophe. Like if you lose a key piece, like your list gets broken open because each of the pieces is self-sufficient enough. I quite like that.
The list can lose almost anything and still function, especially because the supremacy is always active. I think it really just kind of, it's a testament to the strength of Woodrune at the moment. Like, just give the brief shout out to the large tournament they just had in Rowclaw, where Olek and Powell took first and second, respectively. They had a very different, they had a different archetype of Woodrune than Brian and I were playing, but it was some of the same concepts. Raptor Riders Quaddles, doubling down on Chosen of Conquest. They picked up those second units, but it's really just that there's like 3 to 4 very valid competitive archetypes that you can play for Woodrune that are all going to be seen on top tables.
Yeah.
The other thing I like about yours is, as much of the threat as the Chosen are, throwing that Kiss on the Chieftain, his block becomes just so much more killing. Not that veterans are in any way bad, but, that's almost guaranteed 12 wounds from him.
Yeah, he starts picking up stands by himself. Really helpful when you need those wound thresholds for Old Dominion. And yeah, against things that actually take resolve, yeah, he's basically just deleting a stand and a half or 2 stands every turn.
No, he's
I picked
so
up
strong.
that tech piece from Ewan from Australia. He's pretty easily their best competitive player. He and I were playing a game with it, and he actually ran it on the Thunder Chief, and it was running around, and that had impacts that I was re-rolling saves from, and that was mean. But I was like, yeah, I really like this tech piece. I'm going to steal that.
No, it's... I like your list. One of the things I'm a little sad about at Adepticon is I didn't get to watch one of your matches and just kind of see how it played. I would always glimpse like the end of it, and I'd be like, all right, yep, Karl won. Okay, cool. That was kind of it. I know for your final table, a lot of people were kind of like gathered off to the side, and I'm like, I'm not going to enter this. This seems like there's actually shit happening. But that leads us into Thunder Daddy. Tell us about your Thunder Daddy list.
It has Thunder Riders.
Yeah,
It's the LVO list. You've heard it before. I got to actually talk about it before. It's Thunder Chieftain. Doesn't run Kids at a Dollar Store, sadly, but it does run Resilience for Hearted 1 on my Thunder Daddies. It's got the Double Raptor, Double Hunting Pack, Quaddle, Predator on top of the Apex Predator, and Chosen to Conquest and Scion to Conquest. So it's the good old-fashioned, just, it looks like an aggressive list. It is an aggressive list. I've waxed lyrical about that repeatedly. Can't actually take any fights until that Thunder Chief is on the field. And it's looking to get the best value as it can out of the Raptors and the Hunting Pack, since there's only 5 scoring units in that list besides those. So those need to open up fights, which thankfully they can do all day long because they have absurd mobility. And yeah, they open up fights. The rest of the stuff comes sweeping in. And yeah, it's a pretty straightforward list and a pretty powerful one. Quite like it. Yeah,
we played a game, maybe. It was very strong. I know you've also mentioned this list is basically, you have to treat it like a gun line, but instead of shooting you, it like melees you.
You don't have to treat it like a gun line. It can be a gun line. There's a very key difference there. Most of the time, that list is looking to set up the end of 3. I've got my stuff on the field. You have the opponent has more than likely started to move on the points because I'm playing very cagey because I don't actually want to pick any fights. But because the opponent, have probably moved onto points, I'm looking for at the end of 3, just launching forward a Raptor or 2, or maybe the 2 Hunting Packs depending on what's on the board, but usually the Raptors, to set up fights for next turn. So that whoever wins the prio, maybe you blow up one Raptor, but the other Raptor's going to come in and destroy something. Or, failing that, one Raptor just picks something up for free, and then you're on the back foot. So, that's what the list really wants to do. But if we're in a case where, and we'll get into it more in our game, but if we're in a case where the opponent doesn't really have a good chance to, move and actually, open up the fights themselves, or is having trouble doing that, then yeah, I'll sit there and be a gun line all day long.
Yeah, and then you'll.
But we can talk about that more then.
Yeah, and you'll pick the turn to go at your discretion.
Yeah, exactly.
Very good. All right, well, thank you, gentlemen, for explaining your list. Let's get into round 1. Big Mike, who'd you play round 1? We were on. Let me pull this up. Divide and Conquer. What is a decent scenario?
Yeah, I don't remember the kid's name, but there was this younger kid who showed up. His dad brought him. He was a really nice little guy. He played Wadroon, mostly a speakers, but ran, I believe it was a Matriarch Queen in a block of Blooded. Overall, he was a fun kid to play. I'll be honest, it was kind of going a snowball direction. On top of him never playing against Ghost Jail, there were some things he didn't know. He wasn't used to the updated rules for the Wadroon. So, he forced the activation of a chant and all that stuff. So I pushed aggressively. I grabbed zones, held him back. I was a little bit of a monster. I did the old translocate out of combat and side charge a couple times.
Jesus Christ. Into a child? Into a child!
Now, I will say this.
And I'm called the war criminal. Come on, man.
No, he was a really good sport at all, and he was like, I want to see it, show me. And honestly, I would not be surprised if, in a year or 2, this kid comes around and starts playing in the top half of it. We had a nice little talk afterwards where I gave him some suggestions, just because I play against a lot of Wadroon, for what to do with his Raptor pack and how to better utilize them. And, his dad came to me afterward. He was like, hey, thanks for being so nice to him. He was happy. And then the kid would run up to me, every round. He'd be like, hey, I used this thing like you said, and I won. And he ended up doing 3-0. So
wait, was it Ronan?
I don't know his name.
I think it was the Thunder Rider kid.
It was a Thunder Rider kid? Oh my god, that guy's a legend.
You have brown hair or blonde hair?
He had brown hair.
Yeah,
it was Ronan.
Oh, yeah. You played Thunder Rider kid. Nice.
Brutalized
Yeah,
that.
no, it was good overall. I had fun. It wasn't necessarily a hard game, but it was a good kit.
Yeah. I think Ghost Jail, I think a lot of us can speak on this. It's one of those lists where I don't think playing into Ghost Jail for the first time is never fun. It always sucks. I think one of the last times I actually beat Brian Speaker's list was when I ran Ghost Jail into it the first time.
Yeah, and I would say probably 3 of my games were either against somebody who had never played against Ghost Jail or who had only played against it a couple times. And I think the other thing too is, even if you're used to seeing 1 unit or more eye on the board and a couple things, like it doesn't really prepare you for what the list is going to do when you go hard into it.
What would you rate your game?
I would say a 6, right? Like, just it was fun. The kid was good. So overall, a positive experience.
Perfect. Awesome. Good job, Thunder Rider Kid. Also, I know in that Adepticon, Parabellum was super pleased that we had younger people playing in the tournament. It's always good to see children, people under the age of 18, like getting into the hobby and playing and being really excited for it. I think some of the kids actually, like even your kid, Thunder Rider Kid, going 3-3, like that's great to hear because you can do well in this game even as a kid.
I think the poor kid's worst experience is he broke a resin model of his, and it was definitely the first one he had broken. And his dad's like, "Don't worry about it. We'll fix it. It'll be fine. We'll fix it. Don't worry about it." But yeah, that was definitely the hardest hit he took that tournament.
Yeah. Oh, dropped minis. No, thank you very much for your round. Karl, how was your round 1? I believe you actually played someone from the BonkTable Discord, if I recall correctly.
Yes, I played Wraith.
Hello, Wraith. I think it was actually really funny. He came up to me, I think, near the end of day 1, and he was like, "Oh, I don't want to have like a parasocial relationship." It's like, you can come up and talk to me, man. It's fine. You can just talk to me. Like, you're a fine dude. We can just chat. It's okay. So I want to give a shout out to Wraith there real quick, just saying, like, you guys can come up and talk to me. It's fine. But please tell me about your game.
Yeah. He was playing a 12 card version of my double Volva Nord's list.
Okay.
It might have been 11 or 12. I think it was 12. But yeah, it was the usual. It was the double stalkers, double trolls, but one of the trolls was a block. Some like raiders tossed in there. One of the Volvas was in the Valk brick. So yeah, I think he was at 12 cards, but it was kind of like he was a fun opponent. I gave him some technical advice, and I think he implemented it. I know he won a few games after that. Can actually check his placement while I'm talking about this. But yeah, the long story short is he was playing a worse version of a list that I've written and piloted many times into a matchup that I'm more familiar with. So the story kind of writes itself. He didn't score any points. I think I beat him 80-something to 0. It was really he didn't deploy the stalkers in a position where they would be able to get flank shots. He deployed them in a place where he thought they would, but it just meant they got stripped by slingers. And then he was very under deployed. And he played too aggressive on his weak flank, so he basically ended up, his troll block took cock to the flank, and then his troll MSU took cock to the flank, and then his Volva cock to the face, and then his last unit of Valks took cock to the flank, because I literally just leapfrogged them over 4 turns, literally just picking something up every turn, because he literally just gave me a chessboard to do it with.
He didn't give you a chessboard, Karl. He gave you a checkers board to ram cock at him.
Yeah.
Really, the rake of cock. It just kept loving it and leaving them, man.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Oh, yeah, he went 3-3. So yeah, no, it was good.
You did well.
He rallied after. So yeah, I'd give it a 5 or 6. It was a good warm up game. Just kind of, I get anxiety before tournaments. Always kind of the tension thing. So just kind of shake off the rust. I hadn't played Conquest in a few weeks actually since like my last test game with Brian. So I was just got me warmed up and good to go.
No, I'm really glad. I also like in bigger tournaments, not getting paired into like another shark is always nice the first couple rounds because it's like shaking it off and get all the nerves out. Because like I don't know, I get where you're coming from, and a lot of people get the same thing, myself included, of just the nerves, and also like, are you gonna get dark horse by a random guy you just don't know of?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's not even getting dark horsed by a random, because, like, usually if we get a random that, like, does that well, we're like, okay, so this guy might be really good, we'll bring him onto the team, and that kind of thing. It's more like, you don't want to get matched against someone that you don't like, and then lose to them, because there's not many people in the community that, like, people generally find unlikable, so losing to them always hurts.
Yeah. Just gotta win those games. No, thank you for your round one. Thunder Daddy! I'm gonna keep doing this, man. I hope you enjoy yourself. How was your round one? Who'd you play into?
Thunder Daddy!
Yo!
I played Sam Lenz, if I remember right is his name. He's a Michigan local, one of Kang's boys. Really nice dude. Had a good game. He was playing 100 Kingdoms. He brought double. Jesus, I think it was Orders Feudal. No, it was Orders Imperial.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Orders Imperial. So he brought a Men-at-Arms brick, a Gilded Legion brick, a MSU of Ashen Dawn, and a 4-block plus the Priory of Crimson Tower.
Oh,
And I think he had a Hunter Cadre and a Merc Crossbow.
I think Skillen played this gentleman later in the tournament, actually, because I remember talking to Skillen about this on the car ride home. Please continue, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. He, I gotta say, like, I was pleased right out of the gate because he understood. Like, when he explained to me afterwards that he was one of the Michigan locals, I was like, okay, this starts to make some sense because you're probably getting your shit slapped out of you up there. Because Michigan's one of the like better hotbeds, Conquest. He understood immediately that like he couldn't actually move into my list after like turn 2 or 3. After turn 2 in particular, because I started out card him like drastically because I think he only had like 10 cards in that list.
Ooh. Not even Art of War?
Yeah, not even Art of War.
Oh.
So he had to be much more coy about how he approached it. That being said, I think his I even though he made the correct like diagnosis of the situation, I don't think he knew what the cure was. And the cure in that situation when you're in lower cards is to go ham on one flank and start taking cards up off your opponent and trying to mitigate on the other side. That's kind of the solution, but he more or less ended up like overextending his Gilded Legion a little bit too early, where they just marched forward and he trusted to the gods of D4, and then Hunting Pack hit him in the side, and then Raptor Riders hit him in the front. And they just took way more damage than they wanted to right out of the gate. To the point where Thunder Riders right to the front was like enough to finish them off through pike formation.
Damn.
His Crimson Tower. Otherwise, he kind of just like he didn't deploy as well. His deployment was kind of like, it's Divine and Conquer. So Divine and Conquer has like those two kind of like middle zones. So he put both blocks on those middle zones, but that's a very your flanks are exposed. So he put a knight down each flank to kind of contest those sides of the field, but like Hunting Pack and then the Chosen right behind it were staring at his Crimson Tower block. And then the next turn, I won prior and I was like, okay, these Chosen just gonna slam right on through. And then they just... What was that, Karl?
Oh, sorry, I was gonna say, it's a scenario that like you can... I don't want to say a bad player, because there's situations for everything, but if you don't know the scenario or the state of the game well enough, it's a scenario that kind of wants to bait you into a wedge deployment, and you really want to horns it hard.
That's exactly right. Yeah, because those middle zones, because of the way they're placed. Now, like, it's one of those things too where, we talked a little bit about this in our kind of little like whiteboard day that we had, but like contesting a zone doesn't mean sitting on the zone. Contesting them, like not necessarily. Like contesting a zone means being near to the zone. So when you keep that in mind and you look at Divide and Conquer again, you can kind of see where you start getting your refused flank potential in that scenario, or even horns. Like both of those are still very viable on that scenario. But like Karl said, like if you're not really aware of those kinds of strats, then I think you end up making that wedge play and then not playing it very well. So the Chosen of Conquest just slammed into the Crimson Tower, ground them down because that's a fight they're going to win in melee. And I'm playing this fucking game, and this bear is beating the shit out of me, and it's fucking distracting me from what I'm talking about. His men-at-arms just died to the other Thunder unit, and I ended up swinging that game back around towards the end. I forget what the exact score was. I think he ended up doing pretty okay in the tournament. I don't know what his final
I can go pull that.
Standings were. That works too.
I was also going to say that we'll just do my little bit of commentary. I'll try to poorly fill in for Cass, but I feel like
thank you.
Not knowing to not advance when you are outcarded is kind of what separates. That's where we start to kind of hit that 60 to maybe even the 80%. I'd even be generous and say the 80% of the player base. And once you start to finding the solution is maybe even a higher ceiling than that. But once you start to not get phased out and know that you can't just move forward in those kinds of scenarios, that's when your play really starts making improvements.
Yeah.
No,
it's that psychological thing, to put a final point on it, it's that psychological thing where your ape brain wants to take over desperately and start fighting. But you can't let the ape brain take over.
Sam went 2-4.
Oh, well done, Sam.
Went 2-4, okay. Fair enough. Apparently, he'll play the game for a while, then he'll put it down for a couple months, and he'll pick it up again. So he's not necessarily fully in practice, but like I said, I saw some good basic assumptions being made, if not acting on them as principally as he should have. So high hopes for him if he ever picks up the game more often. I would say I would rate that game a solid 6. Really nice kid.
Sweet.
Enjoyed playing him.
Sidebar, the brain thing and the mental capacity, not the mental capacity of Conquest, but more of the mental emotional response to Conquest in the game, because there's times where it's you play a game of Conquest and you're locked into a position that just sucks. You've screwed up somewhere, or you don't think you can see an out. There's many times in Conquest where a lot of players hit that, where they're I don't have a solution to this, I'm just gonna die. And I do agree with what you said, Karl, of the not letting a more animalistic quote instinct take over of just well, I better just go in for it because I'm gonna lose anyway, and just actually taking the break and figuring out a plan or a way to get yourself out of this problem, or even if that still doesn't work, have a plan for next time when you are in that problem to get yourself out, just by making adjustments in your play earlier. It just kind of shows growth of a player and how you progress through the game. Because a lot of the times it's people put a lot of innate value onto the regiments and characters and abilities of the game itself, and not as much into the positioning aspect of the game. And you can win this game just strictly on positioning. That's kind of something I've found with this game. What I quite like, because you can just be well, my shit sucks, but I out-positioned you, so you lost.
That is why we always say that,
poorly positioned is all worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
The game is still skill-based at the end of the day. So
yeah. It just I find that if you are out of position, it just slams harder into a loss than maybe some other games. It's very quickly just oh, we're gonna drag this out for 3 more turns, and then you're gonna win anyway, but I can see the writing on the wall. Thank you. And it's really a small mistake you made earlier on that cascaded to this point.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was round 1. All 3 of you won. Well done, gentlemen. There might be a reason why all 3 of you won, but Let's get into there's army inspection and best painted /break. So I know we left our minis up and set them up in quotes parade. And the TO, Rollo and Yanni wandered around and looked at everything. This was their time to do an inspection to make sure that everyone had what they said they had, and I think they missed a guy. Mr. Giant Man, but I believe that was also caught earlier on and told about, and they still let this gentleman play.
I mean, I think technically he had what he said he had. That wasn't the issue.
It was that his list was illegal because there's different competitive and casual rules, and that's something that I'm trying to hammer on. I didn't put my list out because it was a borrowed army, but I will say that I don't remember off the top of my head all the best painted winners, but it was did me well to see that the best painted this year wasn't contrast painted slop that had 3 models to a stand.
Yeah. Like,
an improvement.
There's a reason why there's four slots on your stand. Please fill them. Actually, sorry, do it. Just do it. Have your minis on the freaking stand. Like, what you see is what you get. So, yeah. I'm not even going to ask for please on this one. Just do it.
Follow the rules.
Yeah. Because I know last year there was a lot of contention about that one when it was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say this year, like, I think the people who got best painted deserved it.
Oh,
100%. Even if I'm not a fan of the overall paint scheme, they looked good, right? Which is what's important, right? Outside of that, it's art, so it's by interpretation.
Yeah, I do agree, and that's like, whenever I know for like 40K or like any Warhammer stuff, they're like, oh, whoever, like, if you have like painted minis, you should get bonuses. I'm like, no, it's subjective. Like, I don't care. If the tournament requires painted, yeah, I'm gonna paint it. Also, if you give someone a long enough headway, hey, this thing is gonna be painted like a year in advance because Adepticon happens every year, that's a fine timeline. Not like 2 weeks before the event you need fully painted. I also want to stay like, yes, art is subjective, and that doesn't mean you should gain an advantage because whoever's judging the art thinks yours is the best, so you should have advantage in a skill-based game over your ability to paint and not your ability to play. Because I know in some 40K event, or not, I don't want to say 40K, but I know in some Warhammer events, people have advocated for that, and it's just like, no, just play the game, please.
Well, it sounds like they're getting really somewhat for creative with their secondary objectives.
Yeah. Okay, let's go into round 2 is Breakout. I don't know what scenario that actually is. I throw stuff on the ground. Here we go. 3 zones with a friendly and enemy objective in the middle zone. All right, Big Mike, what was your Breakout opponent? How'd it go? How'd you play? Tell me.
Yeah, so speaking of hitting sharks early on, I played Andrew, or Huckleberry Smash for those of you who follow him on the forums. So he was playing one of the, I think, his Cranked Hogs and Dirty Dogs list. So he was running a bunch of Fenrir and Goltor, as well as Valks in a big ol' unit of Raiders for all of the, double tenacity goodness.
Damn, okay.
So this is an interesting one because we actually played pretty close to the same exact matchup at LVO this year. So kind of going into it, I already knew what his list was going to be trying to do. And B, I think my list, Adepticon, was better than my LVO list. So I was feeling good about it. And we played each other, I think, literally every tournament we've been to. If we're in the same tournament, we always play each other. I don't know why. It just happens. But it was a really good one. I had the advantage with getting some early range pieces out that I was able to destroy my objective first and start scoring on it. In addition, because it's Ghost Jail, my reinforcements allowed me to sneak out and either threaten or barely tap an outside zone. So I ended up getting a early scoring lead on him. We had a lot of good give and take. Because I played against him before, and because I played especially against Karl with his Valk block, I kind of knew I needed to not over-dedicate into his big block of Raiders with the Volva and all the healing it would do. So I mostly just used a couple regiments to bait or, wedge basically off of the right zone while I held the other two and pushed. And we got to a point, it was a very, very high body count game. But I would say probably around 5th round, maybe 6th, we were at a point where I was ahead, and all he could do at that point was score as much as me every round. And so we ended up talking out the remainder of the game because it was like, yeah, I'll keep getting this, you'll keep getting that, we'll score every time. And I've just got I think it was like 9 points ahead of him, something like that. So it was a really good game, really tight. I just managed to get ahead on him early and keep that lead going.
No, that's really good. Well done. Do you think if he made the play to come off the zones to try and like kill you for the next 5 turns, and then maybe push you off and then score your zones, would he have caught up? Would it have been worth it? Or due to the lack of him being on those zones for the time it takes him to run across and get over to you, he would have fell more behind in if he did win the engagement, him taking those zones wouldn't matter anyway. What was your thought on that process?
It mattered because, so like towards the end, there, like when we were getting into that point, he had one hound that had to unbreak and was basically running away because he had to stay alive in order to score on the far right zone. But I had also forced his raider unit with the Volva in it to have to reorient a couple times because I kept positioning units so that if she didn't turn and start moving the regiment away to go after that unit, it was just going to keep tearing into his flank and into his back. And so he got to what he could. But even, I think towards the end, I was running the remainder of my cares across the bottom, which if he left them alone, they were going to blitz his hound that was scoring that zone. You know, I think he had 2 wounds on it, right? So 1 insanity spell, and it was toast. So he was once again, if he wanted to score that zone, he was forced to redirect his Volva and that entire unit to then go against the cares, which my cares weren't scoring, right? They were just there to screw him over. So it didn't matter to me if he had to redirect his entire force. The rest of my army was doing what it already was doing well. And so, yeah, he was locked at a point where he just couldn't come back. Overall, it was a really good game, but yeah, at that point, it was set in stone, I think.
Well done. Well done on your what seems to be your superior positioning into Huckleberry Smash. Great job. What would you rate that game? And by the way, dear listener, if you're wondering why we're doing the game rating, we can blame that all on Karl. I'm not gonna hide that. So yeah, what'd you rate that game?
I rated a solid 8. He's always a good opponent. He's really good at knowing what his stuff does. It's interesting. I think when you get to the either later tables or better players, I think around 3 and 4, I think your turns take the longest, and I would say this in my game with Karl later when we talk about it, because your positioning is really what's going to carry you through the rest of the game. And so, you know, we're sitting there, and he's like, "Oh man, I'm sorry I'm taking so long." I'm like, "Oh, you ain't got to apologize to me. I'm taking so long too." But you know, he's friendly and everything, so it was a great game, and it put us at 3-3 in our matchup. So our next game is going to be the tiebreaker.
Ah, nice. I do like how it's like I don't know, you get like not like a rivalry, but like a friendly competition with another good player, and you're like, oh, let's just like tie it up or see where it goes or which way it's gonna fall. That's really nice to have. What I would like to play myself personally into Huckleberry at some point. I was kind of hoping that I would play him at Adepticon. It's very rare that I get to play you guys, and so like every time I want to play at least like 1 or 2 of the competent crew while I'm out at events. So hopefully, I've heard great things about Huckleberry. Like I've met him and had dinner with him. He's a fantastic guy. So like, yeah, it's always friendly. Good playing a friend and having a really nice tight game with a friend as well.
And he knows what Ghost Jail does, right? So it wasn't like he was caught off guard and I was getting a gotcha moment, because I don't think any of us really like to win off a gotcha moment. Yeah. You know, it was straight up just tactical analysis, some dice rolls, and yeah, it was a great game.
Awesome. Karl, who was your round 2? How'd it go?
So, I guess I will preface this with saying that the reason that we are ranking the games is because I missed the chance to talk about my LVO in the previous, but I now have 2 metrics. I have my my 10 game, which is my game with Ben Rizlov at LVO 2024, and my 1, which is my round 1 at LVO 2025. probably least favorite game I've ever played in my 16 years of wargaming. But anyways, off my soapbox.
Oh, hold on. For the listener, I started the Horus Heresy, and Karl sent me his whole tier list about each book and how he rated them, and I was like, "Thank you, Karl. I do appreciate this. This man makes lists."
I have occasionally been regarded as autistic, correctly, in fact, but yes.
I do appreciate the list, by the way. Don't worry, man.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, damn right you do. I wrote it. It's correct.
Don't make me post the God Emperor Karl meme, please.
But anyways, I played Swolf. I think he's been creeping around the Discord recently. International. Curious if he'll listen to this. He was playing Dweg with an Ardent Karawa Warlord. I think it was 11 cards. It had Hold Thanes. An MSU of Hold Thanes, in fact.
Can I say this is not sounding good to begin with?
Yeah, so I'm going to do my analysis on the assumption that the person will not listen to this. And if you are, I'm sorry, I'm just always this blunt. The list was shit. It was like 11 cards, all MSUs, 300 points of useless character and regiment upgrades that did nothing. I think he had like 3 new Mensor's Apprentices that didn't do anything.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it was... I don't even know what most of his list was, because realistically, like, most of his stuff wasn't on the table for more than a turn. I guess if we're going to target a little bit of an etiquette point, it's being conscientious of your opponent's time, because, like, you know, we're gamers, we can all get chatty with each other and that kind of stuff, even at, like, maybe not at the top tables, we get chatty at dinner afterwards, but, when we're focused, you know.
Well, we know we're all going to dinner, so we can just save for that.
If the round timer has started, and I am rolling for reinforcements, and, like, we are, like, building decks, I would like you to build your deck. I don't want to hear about the custom lore for your army. Like, I'm sorry. That's just... It's Adepticon. It's a big tournament. Be conscientious and respectful of your opponent's time. Know your rules. Don't try to charge things coming onto the table. I had a Hellbringer Drake attempt to charge Raptor Riders. Not even walk onto the table and charge them, but he tried to charge from the table edge into contact with them and clash.
Oh, that's like Rules 101, man. Rules 101.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Also an indicator of how the game was going, because I had Hunting Pack that far forward. Sorry, Hunting Pack, not Raptors. Yeah, and then when I said that wasn't legal, then later in the game he tried to do the same thing with Hold Thanes, but said he wasn't charging, he was just moving into contact. So...
I forgot that was so funny, dude.
Yeah, like, I'm sorry.
I'm not murdering you, I'm just stabbing you. It's different.
You have to know the rules of the game. You have to, like, at least to some degree. You don't have to be a fucking rules expert, but please note the basic rules of the game. Be respectful of your opponent's time. It seemed like a nice guy. I don't want to knock on him, but just be prepared for the level of tournament that Adepticon is. I would give the game a 2, probably. It was just kind of like... He played very slow, so it took like an hour and a half to do it, but, like, he didn't score anything either. I didn't have any points scored into me in the first 2 turns, or first 2 games, which might sound fun. Yanni certainly was like, Karl, why are you letting them do that? And I'm like, well, they're letting me do it to them. But then, of course, you end up with the problem of, what the fuck is my strength of schedule going to look like if I don't have any points scored into me going into round 3?
Well, we know what it looks like. I believe you had to start your gauntlet in round 3.
I started the gauntlet in round 3. So on the plus side, everything from here is straight upwards, nothing but good words for the remainder of my games.
Yeah, but you also got gauntleted. Like, what is a plus and a minus?
It's fun being gauntleted.
Well, okay, I'll reveal this. There's not a secret, but there's stuff that things I write down that never happen, and one of them is like basically fan fiction of Karl and competitiveness is the polite way to say it, and like what he views for competitiveness. Karl, I have sent to this, so he knows exactly what I'm talking about. It will not be expanded upon. And I literally did it on a drive because I was like, I'm bored. And and I believe Karl is literally doing that where he's like, he likes to have fun with competitive players simply because it's a challenge to him.
Yes, I enjoy running gauntlets. Especially like you always think going into a tournament that you'd like that just kind of relaxing noob stomp game. Like maybe you'd like it after a tough game, but realistically, like you don't. We're here to play the game. The people, especially the people in this call, play the game at a high level, and you'd always just rather have a good game than kind of twiddle your thumbs for 2 hours as you make your opponent pick stuff up off the table.
Yeah, I do agree. Like I feel like round 3, especially in a 6-round event, that's when you should start hitting the players that are going to start being a challenge to you.
Yeah, it's interesting. I made a point of bringing it up last year at Adepticon because it's possible in a event this large to go 3-0 on day 1 without playing a single relevant player.
Wow, it's like that actually happened.
Yeah, last year 2 of the people who started out 3-0 day 1, I believe, finished 3-3 on day 2. One of the poor guys, I think, went straight from Chuck into me.
Jesus Christ, you okay, man? That poor guy.
Yeah, so it's rather grim. But yeah, so you can get a player in round 2 where you're like, how on earth did you win a game round 1? And the simple answer is the person they played round 1 knew even less. And yeah, it's not great for SOS when you run into that, but it's just kind of one of the things that can happen in the game.
Yeah, no, it's like usually by round 4, a lot of things are sorted out, and your top 10 finally kind of files themselves out into actually being something. After round 4, I've noticed in these larger events, what's good. But yeah, I do agree. It's like, how did this guy get here? Oh, his stream opponents were just bad. Okay, cool. Yeah. Well done on your win. I'm glad that you get to fight the gauntlet in the next couple rounds. So, Thunder Daddy, you will now speak of your round 3.
I'm too busy brainstorming my new Dweg lore
Oh,
to hit Karl with next time that we're at.
So funny side tangent. We were Karl, I believe, was doing learn to plays on Thursday. And we kind of showed up, and Karl was very, like, focused and committed to whatever he's doing right in front of him, which is, like, a very good trait. And he very much told us to not bother him while he was doing learn to plays, because we kept bothering him about, like, but Karl, the dueling Conqueror at 260 points is the best character in the entire game. But Karl, you don't understand, the Strix currently do nothing, and marksman clones are really bad. And we started doing that to him, and he was like, please leave me alone. I am currently busy, and we fucked off.
I do everything.
Whole
Learn
things
to plays are
good.
so stressful for me. I'm not even kidding. Like, learn to plays are very stressful because I go into those and I'm like, okay, how do I teach Conquest to people who have never played the game before and who are just learning for the first time? Dre has correctly given me shit for it on the Discord, where sometimes I have no fucking clue how to approach players at a beginner level. But, like, I'm doing these learn to plays for Parabellum, so I'm like, okay, I have to approach these new players at a beginner level. How the fuck do I do this?
Hell, you might have people who don't even know how to use the tape measure to measure their movement. Those are the best learn to plays.
What are dice?
Yeah.
What is this dice you keep?
I've done it a bunch of times for War Machine. You really got to be like, all right, let's slow her down. Like, it's just, you don't know what you're going to get.
Honestly, the learn to plays were great, though. And if you happen to be in one of my learn to plays and listen to this, you were all genuine pleasures, and I enjoyed running them immensely.
Yeah. But Karl did do the right thing and tell us to fuck off, though, and stop bothering him.
Well, yeah, if people paid $150 for a learn to play, I'm not going to give them distracted time as well.
Yeah, no. God, really? $150 for a learn to... Jesus.
Well, okay, no, so it's you pay for the starter box, and then you get the free learn to play, basically.
Ah, okay. I was going to say, damn, Karl, are you pocketing that?
No, you walk away with the starter box for the faction that you invested in.
Okay, good.
It's not highway robbery.
Oh, thank goodness. But still, But Karl, the 260-point dueling Conquest is one of the best things ever and gets so much value every game.
You monster.
All right, Thunder Daddy, how was your round 3? Thank you for putting up with us, Karl.
You still got to do his round 2.
No, what the?
Yeah, it's round 2.
Did we do round 2? No, we're on.
Brian. Yeah, Brian's last.
Oh, you're right. Breakout. Talk about it. Round 2, Thunder Daddy.
I'm always last.
I was always thinking about that 260-point dueling Conquest.
Hey, well, you know, he lives rent free in all of our heads.
Yes.
I played Mommy Pilled.
I'm sorry, fucking what?
Apex Chinchilla. He changed his name. I brought that up.
Why the
before.
fuck
He's
did
Mommy Pilled now?
Hold on, I'll just DM him and be like, "What the fuck is up currently?"
The Scion of Death came out, and he's like, he saw them abs, presumably. He's all about it. I can't blame the man. He's got good taste.
I'm more of a chosen award type. That's my thing.
Dude, I will say this very quickly. Like, I was more like, I'm still mostly emotionally ready to lay WAD down for a while, but those sculpts, I'm like, fuck, I might have to.
But no, one of those Australian fuckers was still complaining about the paint scheme like he always does.
Bruh, who gives a fuck? Paint it the way you want to do it. I don't give a shit.
It's not even who gives a fuck. The dude's a fucking moron. Like, he's sitting there talking about, like,
Okay.
like color theory. Like, I don't think this guy understands color theory himself, but let's not get into this.
Really? You just pull up the color wheel and you do the opposite of the primary color as your secondary. It's not hard.
Well, I mean, there's more to it than that, but, like, he's just... don't get me started on this. In any case.
We should do a painting thing just with the Dweg father just watch him go ballistic over colors.
Sure. We'll make that a series.
The more familiar we get on these chats, the more unhinged we get in general.
I know.
Yeah. That's usually how it goes.
Please.
I wouldn't have spent, like, on my first podcast, I wouldn't have spent, like, 10 minutes talking about my opponent's etiquette.
That's true. I think we have... this is definitely much more off the rails than, like...
this is the honest truth.
Yeah.
This is what people tune in for. I'm not gonna lie. I think people appreciate... Like, I have been told by listeners, they appreciate the podcast because of how real it is.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, Karl.
Well, I would like the listeners then to think about licking some hot orc lady abs as I talk about Apex's games. So Apex of...
Don't make me turn that into a meme. I already have the setup for it. Oh my god.
You know it's going to happen. So yeah, he was playing Wadroon. This is... God, how many times did I play Wadroon this fucking tournament? I played it 4 times. So he was my first Wadroon opponent of 4. Apex decided to bring the most... like, or I don't want to say the most skewed. Ben brought the most skewed, but like one of the more skewed...
Oh, he brought a gun line.
Lists. He brought a gun line. He brought the 2 slinger blocks. Not MSU's blocks. So he had a 5-man block and a 4-man block with the Predator in it. He brought, I think it was 3 birds? No, it was 2 birds. It was yeah. It was 2 Wing Lords. 2 Wing Lords, 3 Raptor Riders, a Braves MSU, and I think I might be missing something else in there. But that was more or less the gist of it.
I saw that list, and I'm not gonna lie, I did not want to play into it. I was like, if I play into this fucking thing, I'm gonna lose immediately because the tables are not set up to deal with this.
Oh, it was 3 birds. He had double Wing Lord, 1 Quaddle.
Oh my god, it was 3 birds. I gotta remember where that 3rd bird went.
Probably into the dumpster after you killed it.
I will happily say this right now. Apex, very good player, and this was a very close game. The score at the end, I think, like, ended up making it look a little bit more in my favor than it actually was throughout the game. Like, there was definitely a couple of dice where, like, I would have been, like, really having to struggle to make sure that I got it down. I didn't want to, because Karl and I talked about the list a little bit before A-Con, and I didn't want to play into it either, but I was still, like, relatively confident in my ability to handle it. Because the golden rule of slingers, don't be in range of the slingers. At least until you've got your entire army ready to go and you can actually, like, just not get picked apart. It's the same rule as any other ranged unit. So, yeah, it's on Breakout. I gotta start bringing these games back to the forefront of my memory. So he puts a Wing Lord on either flank, and immediately starts scoring, like double capping out of the gate. Because I can't go anywhere near slingers, of course. So that was always going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
He sends the Braves up to the middle. He's got a slinger on either flank, so it's kind of like on either side of the center. And I cannot remember where that third bird went. I think he sent the third bird down my strong flank eventually. I bring up both Thunders on my right-hand side, so where he ended up putting both birds. Alongside the Chosen, a hunting pack, 2 Raptors kind of in the middle, and then another hunting pack, and the Quaddle on my weak flank down the left side to kind of just make sure he can't really push through from that angle. And otherwise, I just went hard in on the one side. The Chosen ended up getting into contact with one of his big slinger blocks. Oh, he had an Apex Predator in that fucking list, too. He had an Apex Predator in that fucking list. Jesus Christ.
Shit.
Wadroon.
I think that was the only thing that wasn't a gun in that list. Everything else had a gun, and everything had, like, additional actions. It was a rough list.
It's a good list. So yeah, the Chosen got into melee with it, with the slingers. We had a little bit of faux pas where I rolled, killed a bunch of stands, revealed the way for the Apex behind them to come through, then we realized that like the fight was in water. So I forced the reroll on there, because like that shit was very relevant, and yeah, they killed less. So the Apex wouldn't be able to come through after that. Felt a little bit bad about that. I hate when stuff like that comes up in those games, but John's a gracious guy, and completely rolled with it. Yeah, I basically just stormed down that one flank, and because he had a Wing Lord, a Raptor, and a one of his Slinger bricks all the way off to the one side, it was basically like, I don't know, like 3/4 more of my list into like 2/3 of his or something like that. Like the power disparity on the flanks was just not what he needed to handle one side or the other. So I was able to storm through pretty quickly once I was able to bring down the Slinger brick there and start chewing through all of his stuff. My Thunder Riders, it got a little bit tight at the end because my Thunder Riders like leapt across the gap into his second Slinger brick with the Predator, and then like they made like 3 impact hits. Like I rolled so many fucking 5s and 6s, and then the Slingers, like, because they still have like men-at-arms stats, like they knocked off like 2 with the Predator. They knocked off like 2 stands of the Thunder Riders. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. That shit hurts. But that was made up for by my Quaddle and his Wing Lord. They were literally just shooting each other for like the entire for most of that game, like just fucking taking pot shots. I think he saw that I was starting to close in the hinges, so he kind of like maneuvered his Wing Lord on the point so that like he thought that like if I was going to charge him straight up, I wouldn't be able to get on the point. But I just like went around to the side of him instead, got onto the point anyway, because birds are a bitch like that, and then like shot him. And then making up for the Thunder Rider thing, I think I won the Prow next round, and like that Quaddle just like turned around and actually like killed his Wing Lord, which was kind of some bullshit.
Dang.
On the charge. Yeah. So from that point it was definitely game over from there. So it was close enough for like a couple of the die rolls like was really looking like, oh shit, I might really need to. This might start getting really close, but yeah, it ended up going my way. I think if the Thunder Riders like detonate the Slingers like they should have, then he has no game. But then like, you know, that should happen, and yeah. But yeah, it was I forget what the exact score was at the end. I would basically chalk it up to him just not quite reading the flanks very well and what his force distribution needed to be. I think his Slingers both needed to be like center instead of each off to one side, because everyone was supporting each other. And the one with the Predator just like didn't shoot at anything for like most of the game, so he didn't get value out of it.
Yeah, that's fair. I do recall talking to John, Mommy Chinchilla, as his new name is, after your game, and he was very much like, he's like, oh, Brian got me, and he was like kind of more on the supremacy roll. It's like, man, we were kind of like pretty close, and if the supremacy went my way, and like he made some dice rolls that kind of not like didn't hinder the Slingers, but like they didn't get as much value as they traditionally do out of it. He was like, probably would have been like closer to his favor. I'm like, yeah, that's fair. Like your list is very much like a sweeper, and is designed to just kind of just win or lose.
Yeah. I think he shot the Chosen, and I think he only picked off a stand of the Chosen,
Hmm.
And then the Chosen closed in with him.
Hold on. Can I invoke the
I don't
Karl
know
and
how
be
much
like,
more value he was expecting with that.
Karl, how many chosen should die if a slinger hits them?
Like a stand.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
his blocks maybe more, but that's one of those I was gonna just. I'll talk about it a little more in my game with Ben. But
yeah,
there is
'cause you
something
have
to
to-
be said about the proclivities of slinger players, because one thing that I've noticed is that people who are running a lot of them, it's kind of like it's feast or famine, and a lot of times they just don't. They're definitely good players, no doubt about that at all. Because if you have to play well with a unit that fragile to do stuff, but it's like they don't really know what to do when confronted by a player who knows how to deal with the slingers. At least when spammed like that. That's why I think like the MSUs run better there. The gunline spam just kind of starts to fade off a little bit.
Yeah, I do agree. I have noticed it into like similar with Dream games where some players are like, my slingers will carry me, and it's like, no, they won't. You don't understand what you're actually doing here. Like,
I don't remember, because if I remember right, like I'm doing the math now at the top of my head, and I'm sure if John listens to this, he'll remind me one way or the other.
You probably will.
I think he marsh volleyed, so that was like 20 shots on threes, which for them is like 15 hits, and yeah, that kills like a stand of Chosen, but like it's not going to kill more than that. And I think, and to my previous point, like I think like part of his what he was feeling there was that his other slinger brick just didn't do anything for most of that game. Like they ended up turning around. If I remember, the other thing he might have been feeling was that if I remember right, they did actually eventually get to turn around and launch some shots to one of my Thunder Riders. They might not have even picked up a stand on a Thunder Rider. Like that might have been the bad roll.
This is like
Something like
kind of at this point, it's like 3 weeks out, so like our memory's not going to be the
It's
greatest.
hard to tell.
But I do think there was something about his where he was like, he had to wound or kill your Thunder, like at least one of your Thunder Riders to kind of like carry him through the game, kind of thing, and it didn't happen. What resulted in a loss that not necessarily he wasn't pleased about or anything. It was just like that was kind of the turning moment he saw.
Yeah,
like from his perspective of it. That's
yeah.
all fine and dandy.
I'm not entirely sure. I think because the second, the Thunder Chieftain brick is the one that went into his slingers.
Mm-hmm.
Not to adjudicate this much further, because we can move on to the other rounds. But like by Thunder, the Chieftain brick ended up going to his slingers. I think he shot the MSU, and the MSU either lost a stand or like barely like lived on with that third stand. And that MSU just like went on to like kill his Braves and then turn around and clean up the marker.
Oh, okay.
Because that was what was alive at the end of the game. I don't think in either of those cases, especially with what my Thunder Rider like brick ended up doing, I don't think a good roll on his part would have mattered there. But again, I don't know which one he's specifically referring to.
It is one of those, a single roll or a single supremacy will never turn a game on itself. You can focus on that because that'll feel like the pivotal moment. They could obviously tilt things. It's not to say that it doesn't matter. It's like I had a very critical supremacy roll against Mike that basically saved me from a mistake that I had made previously that we'll talk about. But the single supremacy roll or the single dice roll isn't really going to affect the game. There's previous choices that have led up to that moment.
Yeah, I think I mostly agree with that too. Like, like you said, we'll talk about it in our game, but I think it can help push a game in your direction.
Agreed.
It's not going to make or break the game overall. I think where it starts to feel worse is if you're already losing and then you lose supremacy. It just feels like that was the turning point that lost you the whole game.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Because like, I'll say as a final thing, like I definitely I said it at the top of the thing, like it was a very close game, all things considered. Like one of my 3 very close games the whole tournament. I made a mistake with like one of my Raptors. Like I thought I had positioned it so that I was like free of the slingers that mostly didn't do anything that game, but it wasn't quite right there. So like they got a free volley on it and broke the Raptors. Like that was a mistake. And I'm not entirely convinced I deployed my hunting pack on the other flank very well. But like, yeah, overall the game plan still just ended up being stronger than his. And like I said, I think if anything, him feeling like he didn't get as much out of his slingers is probably because he only got like 3 volleys off with both slinger units over the whole game that were even remotely consequential.
Okay.
So yeah, but all that said,
right.
I played into it right. But all that said, still very good player, very good game.
And he ended up going...
John's a fun guy.
Yeah, I think he was top 10. He was placed 7th, so that was great. 4-1-1.
Yeah, he did very well.
Strong finish to him, and I always enjoy talking to that guy and hanging out with him. He's a cool dude. Oh, I'll rate that game. I will rate that game a good solid. I'll rate that game an 8.
Okay, nice.
Really nice guy. Obviously knows his rules. Smart guy. Moved right along, and it was a good, tight, close game. So yeah, one of my better ones for the tournament.
Yeah, John and I have played twice, and I always enjoy a game with John. It's just super swell, and he's actually a fantastic player, what I quite enjoy.
Hell yeah.
So yeah. Okay, well done, gentlemen. That's round 2. So going into round 3, what scenario do we have? Let me just pull it up really quick, and it is head-to-head, the only kill point scenario in this entire packet. I think that's number 9, if I recall. Nope, number 9 is Foresight. Burn that one. It's number 10. Perfect. So big zone in the middle, off to the side, and 2 smaller zones apart from each other on the other side, and they are friendly to you and enemy to your opponent. So, Big Mike, who did you play round 3?
So I played a guy, his handle was Jimmy Sweets. He played City States. Really nice guy. I'm sorry if you're listening. I'm going to pull a Karl and just be brutally honest on some of the stuff. So he had what I would call a pretty standard City States list. He had a Talos. He had a big old block of Phalangites, 2 Chariots. He had the Thorkites with the dude in it to score earlier. Pretty straightforward. He didn't have initiative, which, I spoke with him and I was like, telling him why I would bring it in that list. And the poor guy also hadn't really played against Ghost Joe.
Okay.
So there's that. The game started off pretty straightforward. I knew what I wanted to do anyway, just looking at his list and looking at mine, is I could aggressively take the right zone early on, deny him coming into my my left zone for the extra points, and then just push in. There was a couple pieces of obstructing terrain because it was a Parabellum tournament. One was pretty close to the B zone on his side, and so the opening was fine. He had some decent opening moves. One of the issues he ran into is, of course, he had 2 chariots, and my opening units are, 2 Morai, carries, and cultists, right? And so what did I do? I made sure they were across from the chariots, so the chariots really had nothing good they were shooting into. You can always spike your rolls into them, but still, I'm evasion 2, loose formation. It's just, his chariots weren't doing a whole lot of work. And he played him a little too defensively. He tried shooting and then moving behind a building so that I couldn't get at him with insanity. But overall, wasn't putting any aggression out. Where the game really turned, though, is, sadly enough, round 3. So he brought Talos out on the left-hand flank, trying to hope to overpower and get into my zone A later in the game. But when he marched him out, there was a building slightly off to the side of it, on the other side of the board edge. And I sent Morai in there. And then he tried to reinforce it by putting his big-ass block of Phalangites behind it, which, can we just say to anybody who's listening, do not reinforce your tank with your tank. Like, especially when you spend all of those points into it, like it does nothing, right? I got the ghosts in there. I then afterwards did the translocate side charge, and really just I kept Talos engaged in front of his Phalangites for I think 3 or 4 turns, just holding him back, right? Because I didn't care anymore. While the rest of my stuff cleaned through. And eventually, the Bucephaloi got a side charge into the chariot, who was, hugging a building too close anyway, and it just really heavily snowballed. He was a really nice guy, but the way he reinforced and the way he deployed just made it so that I could use minimum points, especially with the Morai, to take up probably a third of his army, right? And so, even if you're like, oh, I can move around the guy later, if you're spending a whole turn just trying to reposition a regiment that is now, 10 inches only in from the zone, I'm holding the center of the table, I'm putting all the pressure on you, I'm doing all the scoring, and the best you're hoping for is to keep me from double scoring. And that needs to not be your place. So if you're running double anvil, spread them out, people. Don't hug the butt of the guy in front of you. That's not going to.
So he got stuck on his own toes, as the saying goes.
Yeah,
so you kind of cram into the ass of yourself, and you can't push forward with the first thing. It's like just stepping on your own toes.
Yeah, I mean, it's like to reference an old ass movie at this point, right? It's like 300, where they're like, we can take all these guys in the hot gates. I had my Morai hold up a Talos and a big ass block with a character, right? Like,
oh, it feels great. You're like, oh,
it feels great, but it feels bad at the same time because, again, this was like this guy's, I think, first experience with Ghost Jail, and the answer was, I have 160 points keeping up a third of your army. Sorry, let me kill the rest of yours with mine.
Yeah.
Mass, did you play this guy later?
Sorry, what?
Did you play him later in the tournament?
This guy, I played Andrew Campbell, I played Jeff, and I played 8 Chariot Guy. Those are my 3 City-States matchups.
Gotcha. Never mind then.
I did not. There was a lot of City-States, don't get me wrong, and I did play a bunch of them. I also played Melon Ninja the day before as like a pickup game, what I greatly appreciate. So I played 4 City-States at Adepticon.
Yeah. The other thing he did, which I think some people still do it, is he was picking away at things, but he never focused. And A, it's a kill point scenario, right? And B, I'm already out carding you. You need to get rid of my cards, right? You can't just like drop a Morai down to 1 stand or take 2 stands off cares and move on to working on something else unless it's way over threatening you. So he spread it out too much, and it was kind of decided early on. I don't want to be mean, but it was. Again, he was a nice guy. It was just way too heavily in my favor based on positioning.
Yeah,
I would like to add, it might have come up in your analysis there, so forgive me if I'm just repeating what you already said, but like, it reminded me of a conversation I had in Dwight Chat some time ago, where people were basically like trying to describe Steel Forged as their wall, just because, and like for obvious reasons, in light of like they are D4, but the more important thing here is that they are a 210 point unit, which means you need that unit to do things on the battlefield. That unit needs to get value. It needs to kill stuff and start getting its points back. So hiding the bricks is definitely just not, like, there's no point in that. You got to get them in there and you got to do damage with them.
No, I do agree with you that one. Like, I don't even see Steelforge's walls. I see them as just like self-sustaining units you can just kind of like get into fights with and punch through.
Yeah, like wall is more of like a particular moment on the battlefield as opposed to like a legitimate strategy. I feel like if you can sometimes just like gum up an opponent's stuff, there are units that are very good at that because they happen to have high defense. But like that's not usually what you're looking like. You're not assuming that to be an opportunity that your opponent's going to give you.
Yeah, I think the other thing too is especially if you're going into OD, most of the time you need to inspire clash. Like, you're not getting the extra hits off resolve. So if you have, Talos, who I think is 12 attacks, clash 4, if you inspire, like going off of a 3, you're not going to kill an MSU of Morai, right? You're not going to kill an MSU of basically anything in Old Dominion. But like doing that, not inspiring 2 turns in a row, like just to think you're going to finish them off and then move off the board, you're just wasting your time. So, pay attention, especially against OD, to what you're actually doing, odds-wise to their regiment.
Yeah, for myself personally, I found a good rule of thumb is commit 2 units per every Old Dominion unit to like make sure it's dead. or drag the fight out over 2 turns, and you win it over the course of 2 turns. What does cause other issues, because you're like, Old Dominion at times puts you on a timetable of, because it took you a turn later to kill a thing, it takes you a turn later to get on the zones and start scoring as well.
Yeah, it does this weird thing to this game where if you sit down and do the math, there's kind of like this curve of how fast the dark power points tend to come in. And when your opponent isn't killing your stuff enough, you find your curve hits this weird thing. Like I hit tier 3 really early, especially with the supremacy. And I think this time I didn't hit tier 3 or 4 until like later in the game, like round probably 5. Just because not enough stuff was able to hit me and kill things, because I was able to hold so much up that it was just like, all right, I guess I'm not doing this extra killy stuff yet.
Just will sit here and just score points. Yay!
Yeah.
All right. Well done. What would you rate that game?
Again, he was a really nice guy, but I would say in terms of what it was, probably a 4 or a 5. Especially coming off the heels of such a high game with Andrew.
Yeah, that's fair. It's kind of like, oh, I did this awesome game, and then it's just like, oh, this is an easy win. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Karl.
Oh, I was going to say, going into mine, I will drop maybe a controversial take, because I was at the table right next to Mike and this guy for this round, and I will say, this might be a controversial take. I think the guys in this call will agree, but maybe people can comment. I think that if you are playing at Adepticon, especially if you are 2-0 at the end of round 2, I don't think you have the right to complain about your opponent's list on like a fundamental level. I just kind of don't. Because was hearing some like complaints from the table over just like about Ghost Jail in general, and oh, this shit's bullshit. And like obviously, we've said it's kind of rough playing into it at first, but it was kind of like, okay, well, you're at this tournament, there's kind of an expectation that you're going to play into some nasty lists.
Like, here's something about Adepticon I think maybe some people don't realize, or it doesn't click with them. Like, this is the biggest Worlds Point game, or gain, in the year. Like, if you want to go to Worlds, you gotta do well, so you're gonna bring the best thing you think is gonna do well for you to this event. And then you're gonna play the crap out of it. And, it's kind of like a shark. Like, it is a Shark Tank. Like, there's people who are looking to gain enough points to go to Worlds. Easy.
Yeah, spoiler alert. I didn't win the tournament, right? So it's not like Ghost Jail is the list that wins every single game.
No, it might be with Drew. Yeah, and
no comment.
Yeah, it's okay, Thunder Daddy. You did very well. In any tournament, even if it's like, I don't like. Here's the thing, like, I don't really like believe in casual tournaments. It's like, well, someone's gonna win. There is no casuality about that. That's not a real word, but that's what I'm gonna use. People are playing this to do well and get even if it doesn't count for Worlds points, it counts for bragging rights. Like, people want to do their best, and this is the time to show off that they can do their best. At a local game day, you can, play whatever you want, have fun, do crazy stuff. Or if you join, like, a narrative event or something like that. But, like, at a tournament that's worth Worlds points, or, like, has an opportunity to gain you advancement up that leaderboard ladder, there's people who are going to take this serious because they want to play at Greece and show off and be like, hey, I'm one of the best players in the world. Like, people are going to go for that, and especially at Adepticon.
With the exception of Dan, we had every single US Heos player from last year was in attendance.
Yeah.
Filthy competitive players.
Yeah. It's like they organize and chat with each other and try to do well. I don't know what that would be.
I guess we could get into some of that stuff later. But
yeah, don't worry, I have it written down.
Could go into mine. So
your gauntlet begins.
My gauntlet. Yeah, so I got Chuck. So funnily enough, Chuck went to the gym because we had lunch after round 2. I also went to the gym. We went to a separate gym. I was taking a required home buyers class that my mortgage company required for a first-time home buyer grant.
What the fuck?
Oh, it was great. It was great. But, like, yeah, I had to do it. Stuff I already knew, because, like, I did my research. But anyways, Chuck was also at the gym. We see the pairings posted. We both text each other, fuck. So,
isn't Chuck your wargaming daddy?
Yeah, he is. 100%. Like, we play it off as he's my dad at restaurants and that kind of stuff to get free shit. It's great.
It's so funny.
And Chuck can also sweet talk almost anyone. He's a very charismatic, one of the nicest and just genuinely best people that I've ever met in this hobby. He's up there.
Chuck's the man.
Yes. So we played this same scenario last year at Adepticon with this same round 3. I lost. Head-to-head has been my bane for years. It was the scenario that at every single tournament was it was the scenario that was my only competitive loss in any event for over a year. At Hios, I lost on it. At Adepticon 2024, I lost on it. At LVO 2024, I lost on it. Like, legitimately, every loss that I took. LVO 2025, I lost on it.
Damn.
Also...
So this is getting banned out of the scenario packet, right?
It's a good scenario. It is a good scenario. It is the much better of the 2 kill point scenarios as far as overall balance. Melee stacks too high. But in addition to all of that, we've been kind of, dancing around the SOS and that kind of stuff. And getting Chuck on the only kill point scenario in the packet, fuck is about the only response you have to that. Because, like, you're hearing all these other guys are getting... I actually forget who Brian played, but I think he had a pretty easy game. So...
I slaughtered a child.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah. You beat the 6-year-old that beat Steve.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I avenged Steve.
Hey, team beat up children, let's do it.
Yeah.
Stop!
Yeah, exactly.
Stop! Also, it's impressive the child made it that far before hitting the shark.
Well, because he beat Steve.
Yeah.
I say to you, well played, small child.
Then rips his head off and drinks his blood. It's like, oh, what the fuck, man?
But yeah, so everyone's getting relatively solid and easy round 3s on the only kill point scenario in the packet. And I get Chuck. That's bad. Just on a total tournament basis, that is like one of the worst things that you can walk into. Because Chuck has this thing where even if you beat him, or even if you win, you never really beat him. He has this ability to kind of... Like, Brian has beat me more times than Chuck has. But when Brian and I win, our games are usually, like, someone makes a mistake early and then the other guy just gets reamed. That's usually how those games go. Chuck will fight tooth and nail to the end no matter what. I have never had a blowout game into Chuck.
Yeah.
So you're fighting for points till the end on a kill point scenario. It's brutal. And then my kind of rule in my head, I don't know if he's going to listen to this, but I think he knows about it, is basically just don't give shit away for free. Especially into Chuck. But it's like, his lists are janky and he dark horses. Usually the operating term going in is, as long as you don't give something away for free, you'll be fine. Just write it out. Play the game, not the opponent. Play the table, not the opponent is going to make a reappearance as a phrase. But, yeah. So, of course, round 2, I lose a stand of slingers to his Selenoy MSU. Because I forgot they were 16-inch volley. I thought they were 14. So, of course, going in, I've immediately broken my one rule of playing into Chuck. And it is starting to look rough. But ended up rallying, made the comeback. Basically what happened...
Did you slam your blessed cock onto his back and then you came back?
So I deployed both slingers on the 3-point zone.
Okay, sweet.
And starting on turn 2, I had a vet supporting that. I had the Chosen of Conquest, a little more centralized. And then I had my core of veterans on the other flank, going towards the 4 zone. And Hunting Pack running down pinchers on both flanks. Chuck was running a triple block city states list. He had 2 blocks of hoplites and a block of clockwork hoplites.
Sorry,
It's
address them
mean
by
stuff to chew through.
their proper name. Chuckalites, I believe Brian has labeled them as.
Yes, the
Lights,
Chuck
yeah.
lights. So, Chuck is very good at rolling dice, especially with units that don't take resolve. So that's something that you always kind of have to be worried about going into those. But basically, I rallied. The slingers, even losing a stand, they started to do what slingers do, and just kind of accumulating value, going for the picks. He made a march charge on turn 2 from his... Oh, right, because that's why the cock came in on the flank. So turn 2, he march charged my slinger block with the pred, with his Thoras. I ended up pulling Conquest shenanigans to chant war with them to get Cleave 1, which started to strip them down. It actually got them 1 wound away from breaking. And then the Scion of Conquest hit them in the flank with his blast spell when he came onto the table.
Ooh.
And he basically shattered them because they only were 5 wounds away from shattering at that point.
Well done. Good job.
So, yeah, and that was in the flank. There are 2. It was what I needed it to do. And then at that point, I was out carding him. So I focused really hard on winning the fight for the 3-point zone. That's where I concentrated my attention early. And we were kind of playing footsie with my veterans and his hoplite and clocklight block kind of dancing around each other for most of the early stages of the game. No one was really pushing forward. Early on, he started pushing in later when he realized that he was losing the fight on the 3. The Blessed Chosen to Conquest are really good. That's pretty much the takeaway there.
They're
But
also
then,
really good being self-sufficient unit, but you can just kind of throw in, do work, and then continue on its own.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, basically just kind of fought it out and grinded it down. And like Chuck, he made me fight to the very end. I think he got me down to my last few wounds, but I ended up pulling it off. I think it was like a 40 to 25 win or something like that. But that was, it could have very easily flipped based on a couple circumstances into something closer. So I feel this was one check off my list of finally broke my losing streak on the scenario. Got to win into Chuck, which always feels good. It was a good way to finish day 1. I'd rank it a pretty solid 8. Chuck's always fantastic. It was a fun one.
Nice job. Well done. And now into Thunder Daddy. Who'd you play round 3?
Fuck, I can't remember this. I can't remember this kid's name, but
it wasn't the brunette. It wasn't Thunder Rider kid.
No, it was not Ronan.
It was the blonde, right? Like the 8-year-old or something.
Why are you calling him the brunette and the blonde?
I don't know. That's the only describing fiction. Like they're small and I don't look at them. Okay, I'll talk about something maybe a little personal. I was at the gym and some 13-year-old is squatting and he's like, "Have you ever seen a 13-year-old squat 230 pounds?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm 30. I don't look at 13-year-olds. I don't look at kids. Fucking stay away from me. I'm just get terrified." So that's why
stay away from me.
Yeah, no, I'm very much kids, stay away from me, please. I don't need to deal with whatever the fuck you're doing.
That's entirely fair. God, I can't remember this poor kid's name, but we'll call. I'm just going to refer to him as the kid. This child, just ruined Steve's life. He fucking beat Steve the round before, and I would like to point out, I had my tough round already for the day 1, so I got a nice kind of breather.
A literal child.
A literal child. I had not only a literal child, but a righteous mission before me, which was to avenge Steve. So we had to do what we had to do. I showed up I don't know, some kind of mafia character putting out a hit. You know what I mean?
It was kind of funny to just watch the pairing come up and we're like, "Oh my god, Brian got the kid." But then it's also even funnier. Yeah, I think it's Murphy. He's a nice kid. Did well in the tournament.
Very nice kid.
It is really funny just that we required sending the tournament winner and the LVO tournament winner to fucking murk a kid because he took out our buddy Steve. Mind you, Steve took 4th at Hios.
We don't
Like-
fuck around.
Yeah, like we take our honor very seriously.
Yeah. This would be like the kid, like, you know, he gets through the first coach at the first Pokemon gym, and then like the fucking final guy shows up, like, I heard you were some shit, kid.
Giovanni
Like, what?
shows up and just beats the crap out of a child coming out of the first gym.
It's like
Really,
that
he's
one.
like-
I think it's on the show where that one guy shows up at a regional tournament with a fucking mythical Pokemon for some reason.
He's like, "Oh, I was bored and had the day off."
I decided to teach the youth. They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
You need more money.
We don't need to discuss this game that much. He was also playing Wadroon. He just had like a smattering of various things with a emphasis on dinosaurs, as you might expect. You know,
Orcs riding
Move some
dinosaurs.
stuff
Had more
forward,
pride
it
on
really-
his Thunder Chief.
yeah. I tried to take Roar of the Tribe and the Thunder Chief. Like, I checked with him before that. I was like, you know that doesn't do anything, right? He's like, yeah, I figured that out already. I was like, okay, good. Sorry about that, buddy. His dad came by every now and again and was like, you getting your ass kicked? He was like, yeah. And he was like, oh, that's how you learn. It's good for you.
Are you winning, son? No.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm
Ronan,
losing by a lot.
yeah, Ronan ended up coming around and he was like, how you doing? And Murph looks at me and he goes, I'm getting fucked. And like that, like, young, like, I just, like, just dropped my voice down voice. Shit was really funny. And then Ronan looked at the field and he was like, yeah, you are getting fucked. I was like, God.
What are they
I was
putting
like,
in the water
this-
these days?
It's a South
These
Park.
days, dude, I was just gonna say, like, Karl, you're too young to understand this, but like, that took me straight back to the fucking Xbox Live chat days, man. Where I'd be playing fucking Gears of War or something, and I would like blow up someone's head like a fucking watermelon with a sniper shot, and I would hear on the other side on the voice chat, "He's a really good shot." I'm like, what are you? Why are you hanging out with us? Why are you saying things like this? Like, I don't understand it. But yeah, straightforward game. I don't even remember the score. It was a done deal. Nice kid. I don't remember what his final. What do you call
He
it?
did
His final
well.
record.
I think
Did he?
it was. Yeah, I gotta pull it up. Well, because it's like. Yeah, he did. I think he was Melfador, right?
Maybe.
Was he the
Wait, I
kid who
can actually-
picked random prize pools after? I feel like it was that kid.
I can just scroll back to the round 3 pairings. I'm fun like that.
Well, they didn't take him down, so.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a game I'll rate in the meantime. I would give it a solid 5. You know, for much the same reason that Big Mike with his last game there, like coming off of the game with Apex, which was a much tighter, much more interesting fight. I mean, you know, again, nice kid and everything. I was going to say 6. I am going to dock a point. I'm sorry if you're listening to this, man, but like, you got to speak up with your voice a little bit in these cons. My God, I had to like lean across the table to hear him pretty often. Like I'm an old man. I've already got the white hairs growing out of my ears. I need you to shout at me.
All right, he went
Please.
3 and 3.
Hey, there you
went
go.
three-
Well done.
That's a good fucking record. Yeah, well done to you, buddy. Hell yeah.
These kids are doing better than some people. My God. They're going to be better than
I-
us when they're our age.
I may or may not have told this story, but like my old man like loved watching me play games at the shop when we lived in New York and I was like 8 or 9 years old, because like I would play like full on adults and they would like start sweating over the fucking game. Like there was
Yeah,
one time
no one
where-
wants to be the one who loses to the 9-year-old kid.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why you never go too easy at the beginning of a game when you're playing against a kid. Because if you get dark horsed by that thing, people mock you after the game and for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah,
Or
you're in a
weeks
good
after.
spot.
Yeah. Steve's got to go
Like,
meet
that's-
that kid at Adepticon next year and be like,
I'm
"It's
sorry,
time for
Steve. I love you,
revenge."
man. Yeah,
It's extremely funny. I'll just straight up say it. It's extremely funny. We love you, Steve, but my God.
oh god.
We've all had bad losses though, as we've said before. Though, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that's round 3
Well done.
and
So-
day 1.
Yeah, so how'd you guys feel after day 1? How were you feeling? Were the nerves gone, or were they like more on because you've passed day 1 with a 3-0 score?
I felt pretty good. Chuck almost talked me into playing a fourth game for fun, but he's persuasive. But thankfully, I was carpooling with Ty, so I was like, "Nah, I gotta go. I gotta get food in me."
That's fair. That's fair. Also, yeah, don't get like tricked by him. He's trying to like lure you into some fey deal where you're gonna get your soul sucked out of your body.
Yeah, honestly.
Chuck.
Yeah, like he's some weird trickster god from like some fairy folktale. You got to be really careful with that.
Yeah, you don't want to fuck with that.
Yeah, Karl, how'd you feel after day 1, 3-0?
Real good, especially after we had Brazilian steakhouse.
Oh, so good. Brian.
I felt good. I felt pretty solid. I got the one good game in already with John, so top of the world.
I will admit, I was concerned for my strength of schedule because I'm like, shit, I gotta like win this whole thing, or I might like take fucking 4th or some shit.
No,
but a Chuck, you can usually count on Chuck to go 5-1. I know he and Andrew had a very close game day 2. That Chuck actually went 4-2, but still, he's always good for a positive win rate.
This
is like the most maybe non-advice, but I don't know, it helps me. Like, I just don't think about SOS, because in my mind, I'm like, it's either 6-0 or nothing.
Yep.
Like, I'm either fucking going all the way, or it doesn't matter.
No, I agree.
That's how I look at it anyway.
All right, so into day 2, we had 8 3-0s, if I recall correctly, and then one of them dropped, what was very kind of them, because they were running an illegal list and had gotten that far. We do know... Oh, go ahead, Karl.
The kindness would have been not to start playing so that you don't 3-0 drop and then fuck someone else's strength of schedule and just throw the entire tournament into disarray. But that's... Yanni said not to blame that individual and that he allowed them to play, so...
Yeah.
Will not, but that... Yeah.
That means we blame Yanni. God damn it, Yanni.
God damn it, Yanni.
Yeah, Yanni, sorry. We love you, but what the hell?
That's a paddling. Dude, we should bring a big paddle to Adepticon next year and be like, oh, sorry, PB. Get in.
Yeah, you're about to get bonked.
Say that for BonkCon. That's going to be probably a single round elimination. You go to the BDSM room. Karl playing as hard as he can not to go to the BDSM room. Everyone else losing to go.
I'm competitive at everything, Mass.
Yeah, I know, but means you got to win BDSM, and Cass is the dominatrix.
Jesus Christ. Anyways.
Yeah, that's going to be wild. Round 4. So the pairings happened the night before, because Yanni thought it was a great idea to show off and everything like that. And he was told, don't do that. And we showed up next morning, and a bunch of people dropped, so he had to redo the pairings.
Which, I gotta say, was... No, so I played Seraph PK. No offense to him, but it was probably the biggest disappointment. Seeing myself get repaired.
Yeah, I'm gonna admit here, every time we got repaired, I went into a loss, and then I'm like, and that happened in other tournaments before Adepticon, and I'm like, is this like a fucking curse or like a superstition? Like, I swear, like, I'm superstitious about this getting repaired nowadays.
Yeah.
I don't like
Who
it.
did you end up... Oh, well, I guess we're about to find out.
Well, don't worry, you will
or
find
wait,
out.
like, who are you supposed to play?
Who was I supposed to play?
Yeah.
Mr. Number 1 here.
Yeah. You remember that? Yeah.
Yeah, that was, like, I saw it the whole night before, because LVO, and obviously you're a great player anyway, but, like, I'm, like, sitting there, and I'm like, all right, this is the kind of stuff I know how to deal with. This is the thing I think is going to be hard. I'm looking at the scenario, and I'm trying to pre-plan and hype myself up. And then morning comes, we get repaired, and I'm like, well, I got myself hyped up and excited, and that's not happening anymore.
Ditto. I was like, all right, well, yeah, I've been to ghost jail before. We can do it again. I'm sure I can. I don't have to deal with the prey block. I'm playing fucking mess. So.
Yeah, I was like, I was like, oh, another round of Vadrune speakers with, I think the gentleman's name was Chris, who I was originally paired into. I'm like, oh, this should be like fine. And then I see Brian. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get fucked in the ass hard here. I'm like, I don't really see it out. He knows my list better than I do, and and we've played this matchup before. He knows what's to go on. Like, fuck me.
I walk in with the barrel.
Yeah, you're just like,
I didn't think I was going to need this, but
it's like you're putting a dog out of his misery. All right, Mike.
Jesus.
Tell us about your round 4.
Yeah. So like I said, I played Seraph. He was playing the double Volva Nords, which I think Karl initiated that whole list, didn't you?
Yeah, I wrote that one.
Yeah.
Peter's one of my locals. Really good guy.
Yeah, great guy. Poor guy had to sit across from me, trying to crack my back and stuff the whole time because it was killing me from the bed at the hotel. But it was pretty straightforward. We were playing. Oh my gosh, it wasn't Maelstrom. It was.
Hold on, I can pull that up for you really quick because I have it available.
Yeah.
Off balance.
Yes. So
Fuck
off
this
balance.
scenario.
I actually feel really confident usually into off balance with my OD list, just because it can be so aggressive and it can push people back. Plus the fact that it is almost impossible for me to not score that left zone on turn 2 because of where the Morai come out. And especially if you've got a good march or an Optio in your Legionnaires to grab it. So it's usually pretty good for that. The big thing when playing into double Volva is, I think, focusing down to break a unit and then moving on. Normally I'm big on taking things out, but A, this didn't have kill points, and B, some of the nastiness is how much of Volva, how much healing this list has. And so being able to break something and take out their ability to bring that unit back really just kind of, I think, drives down the efficiency. Now, I played against this list a couple times, and so it was early enough. Part of me was kind of doing this thing where I'll look at what the possible moves are, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this, and then he's going to counter with this. And so at the beginning, I was like, man, I think he's got it. And he's like, oh, this is different from where I'm sitting. So it was one of those things where I was playing against myself in my head, and I was apparently kicking my ass a lot more than it ended up happening for him. But it was a good game. Really, it was one of those get ahead, grab if you have the opportunity to grab a zone without having to over dedicate, or without losing killing power. And I'll talk more about this in our round 5 talk. You go for it. But the nice thing about the cultists and the Curiatids, whatever you want to pronounce them, is they're really good at either sniping to break the last bit of the regiment you need, or going after an objective if it's in range. And being able to come in from the side with your big stony archers, they can kind of dominate a side of the board with that range support. So it was a really solid game overall. I'll be honest, it was early, so I don't quite remember all of the plays that happened. But it was really just playing to the strengths of Ghost Jail and bullying him into dedicating more than he wants to. And again, getting rid of the healing possibility, because that's going to do it to anybody, especially if they stack their deck in a certain way that they plan to heal something. And then they just sit there and they're like, oh, well, this activation's not going to do much for me anymore. I'll bless this unit here, and then you ignore that unit and go after something else.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Congrats on your win. Well done. Was there anything in his list or how you played that you were really worried about, or did it, once you got into the right position, it kind of just fell into where it was going to land?
So the list does this really nice thing where it offers a lot of threats that you have to address, and can pull you into those traps where you end up dedicating something you shouldn't have and you pay for it a lot. The other thing is it's got 2 really big bricks that you can't let them just walk away with the game, but you also can't dedicate something too important to it. Right, because if you're going after, the double tenacious raiders or the blessed Valkyries with something that's key but not going to wipe them out fast enough, which is freaking most things aren't going to wipe them out fast enough, you're dedicating too much of your force. And I played against Karl. We played in LBO where you had the double Volvas, and I made some mistakes going into that. But learning, with that, and then playing against Andrew, even though he only had one Volvo, like knowing how to deal with that, it was helpful. But those are the real scary things in that list, and so I think having recently played against something similar was really helpful in me being able to counter it. But again, I think that game could have gone either way depending on how some of the rolls went.
No, well done. No, good job on your round 4. Karl, gauntlet number 2. Who'd you play?
I played Blitzmini's Ben.
Yeah, Blitzmini's man from Singapore.
Hell yeah. So, for backstory, this was my round 1 loss at Hios. It was a very good, very close game. He is a good player, very strong player. And this was one of those lists, it was kind of... It's not that I'm, like, afraid of it. It's just one of those, I don't really want to fight this list. He was running 14 card Wadroon. I'm running 12 card Wadroon. A big part of my list's not early aggressive output is from Slingers. A big part of his entire list is aggro play from Slingers. So he was running Warlord Queen in a unit of Hunters. Then he had a Mounted Predator on Raptor Riders with adaptability to part markers. And then he had double warbands of Chieftain in Veterans with Blooded. One of the Blooded had an aberration. And then 4 MSUs and Slingers.
Yay! 4 MSUs and Slingers. Let's go!
Yeah. This list is a... How do I approach this correctly? So... It was very much I had been thinking about this, because I don't... it was really funny, actually, because I'd even made a point of saying, like, in our Adepticon whiteboard, like, yeah, I'm not really expecting a dark horse or anything like that. Like, I know all the North American heavy hitters, everyone who's making the Hios run, so, we should be fine here. And then, of course, I didn't know that Ben was coming from Singapore, so it's like, it's my, I'm Captain Ahab, and it's my Moby Dick has just surfaced, and so I was kind of like, well, we'll see what happens here. Especially, I was coming into this round prepared to play that triple giant list because I was going to be the silver bullet to take that thing out. And then, yeah, I got this, and I was like, well, this is, first thing in the morning. I'm not ready for this. We'll see what the hell happens here. But what ended up happening was one of the most enjoyable and technical games of Conquest that I've ever played. I loved every second of this game. I would give it a 9.5. I'll start off with that rating early. It's really hard to give anything a 10. I try to be conservative with my ratings, but this is probably one of my top 5 games ever. Because I just sat down and I played the table, not the game. So the final score, I believe, was 35-15. I had scored 0 points by the end of turn 5.
Damn.
And then I tabled him on 6 and scored out everything. What's really funny is that literally the game was over by the end of 5. Like, tabled. Because we just had so much early stuff. My list is all in on 3, basically. His was also all in on 3. He had more cards than I did. But it was a fantastic game. I had I had 1 Slinger Central deployed, 1 Slinger on the outer flank. I actually didn't deploy any of my lights against the marker side of the table because I figured he was going to make a play for that with adaptability. So we ended up having both my Slingers and both my hunting packs across from a couple of his Slingers, and then he had all his double Slingers, his Hunters, his Raptors on the other flank. I would say that the disadvantage of this list that he was running is it plays like a raid boss. Brian might have some similar insight because he played into it the next round. If you get the list's number, then you've got it. And you just have to play that table and everything will kind of turn out okay. The big ones were, so on turn 1, deployed to make sure that he wasn't going to get good shots with slingers. And then on turn 2, I knew I was going to be outcarded heavily and had to build for that. So instead of letting him come to me, because I have to have a table presence, I can't let him jump past the zones. I'm not necessarily going to score them early on, but I can't let him get past them and completely hose me off. So I made some early aggressive plays, keeping my slingers in the forest mostly, using hunting pack to kind of screen them as well. So I was able to heavily maim 2 of his slingers on turn 2, and I only lost 2 stands of hunting pack from that exchange. Was very helpful that he had a pretty solid roll on one of them, and then he had a relatively mediocre roll on another. So, I had lost a third stand because one of my MSUs, he broke one of my MSUs, took a stand off the other. Going into turn 3, we were both all in. He's on 14 cards, I'm on 12. This is really where the gears started going. Turn 2, I deployed my blocks on the opposite side of the table from his, or on the same side of the table as his main force with the queen, the raptors, and the 2 other slingers. I only brought them on 5 inches onto the table. I think he was a little surprised by that one, just because I can't let them get the slinger range. I have March Charge with Conquest threat on both of them. I just need to play cagey. Turn 3, I was able to make focused aggro plays. So he, on turn 3, took a March Charge with Blooded to plug up my Slinger Brick. That was probably the correct move, I think. But what it allowed me to do was using my my unengaged MSU of Slingers and one of my hunting packs, I was able to delete both of his wounded Slinger units before the Queen was able to heal them, because the healing and recursion part of that list is spooky. So I was able to immediately flip the card advantage. My other hunting pack that had already been broken just marched forward twice to block off his veterans from really doing anything that turn. So I was immediately able to get rid of that 2-card advantage that he had on me. And then at one point he also entouraged, so I actually had the last action on this turn. 2 actions, in fact, because I had lost supremacy. And then at that point, it's kind of like, alright, the noose starts to tighten. Everything started coming on. He had to back off and play a little bit cagier. And then at the end of the turn, I just ran my Chosen a Conquest. They March charged over 20 inches to run into his 3rd MSU of Slingers. So by the end of turn 3, I'd basically been able to completely negate 3 out of his 4 units of Slingers, which are really the scary parts of this list. And then from that point on, it was just kind of playing out the rest of the game. Obviously can't make any egregious mistakes, but from a technical perspective, it was just playing it out, making the right moves. But by that point on turn 3, I was like, okay, I think I've got this. And then, tabled him end of 5. The Kiss of the Dilosaur Chieftain basically picked up his opposing, or his counterpart of veterans single-handedly. He literally wiped 12 wounds.
Jesus.
On his own. Yeah, he's a monster.
Because of the Dinosaur, you got to re-roll defense rolls from that character, if I recall correctly.
And resolve.
Oh, god damn it. Yeah, okay.
So he's hitting you like 6 times with Cleave 2, so you're failing all those saves unless you have really good evasion. And then he was broken by that point, R3, so you're failing 75% of the resolves. He rolled a little bad on that one, but like only really 1 dice more than he should have failed, so yeah, he took 12 wounds just from that.
Yeah, that's then the rest of the unit just cleans it up. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. But yeah, I felt, avenged from Hios. I felt gratified. Ben was fantastic to play against. I sat next to him at dinner that night, Rolo sat between us, but I was near him at dinner that night and got a chance to talk with him. He's a great guy. I hope he makes it to Hios again. His skew lists are the stuff of my nightmares, I will say.
You can't out technical and out top compete dark horses, Karl. You can't do, well, you did, but anyway. I'm glad that there's something that brings you fear.
Indeed.
Well done on your win. I'm glad you had a really good game. I think I peeked over at it, and I'm like, man, I don't think Karl's doing well. This like Ben's pushing out and like really has the control of the table, and it was like, I come back and it's like, yeah, I won. I'm like, oh, okay, nice job, Karl.
Oh.
Mike,
I like to get my business done.
Yeah, I know. Mike, I forgot to ask, what would you rate yours and Peter's game, by the way?
I'd say that's easily at least a 7. It was a really good game.
Perfect. Sweet. All right, Thunder Daddy, who'd you play round 4?
Some asshole. I can't remember his fucking name.
Jesus Christ.
Some guy. Oh, I'm sorry. He was a masshole.
Wow, right. This is on my own podcast. Thanks, man.
Good. I stole my thunder because I was going to say I played some asshole next round.
Ooh,
yeah.
Brutal. Well, I only played assholes after round 4, so how?
I thought Chuck isn't an asshole.
What? I'm just an innocent bystander. I just caught the flack for no reason on that one.
Good.
Never mind that I started it.
Dickhead.
Yeah. I played Mass.
Oh boy.
You know what I played.
This might be the time to say, since we're getting into the rounds where we've played each other, or where we're starting to play each other, but I think even though he's not currently playing, I think the best thing that Ben did for this game was start to build a competent Conquest community, because what we've done is basically anytime at these North American events we're like, okay, this dude was really good and wants to get better, wants to have the conversation, we throw him in the group, and what we've ended up with is basically a group that has all of the best North American players in it, and it's just a good place to talk about the game, get to know each other a little bit better. We plan our dinners and that kind of stuff, and it's just, the losses never feel as bad when you're having dinner with the guy after. It's just really, when you're friends with the other people at the top, it just kind of makes everything a better experience all around.
Here's to that.
Yeah, no, it's I'm really glad like mirroring your same thing. Like, I'm really glad what Ben did, and then we've kind of taken it further since then. Like, we did that communal discussion leading into Adepticon to figure out, and then also like competent loses into competent, so like you only want to lose into your friends. So you're gonna place well already, but like, you know, your competition is just gonna be your friends. Okay, Brian, how'd you kick my ass? Let's go. Let's hear it from your perspective, because I already did a battle report.
So Mass is playing Raygoons, which is good old quad Zerker and double warriors and double magma forwards, double ironclad Drake. Scoring lights. So it's kind of just what none of us ever wanted Dweg to be, but here we are. Just playing Dweg this way. And what was the scenario again? I've already forgotten.
We are playing Off Balance.
Off Balance, okay. Yeah, so Mass sends, I think you sent your 3 Zerkers. One of them kind of went up the middle, 2 of them went towards the zone closer to the markers, and then one kind of went near-ish the far guy. And then you kind of followed up with, eventually the Reg with the Warriors went to the far guy. Magma Forge, both more or less up the middle. And then the Ironclad Drakes on the, where the other 2 Zerkers were. I did my usual thing of kind of just throwing the Raptor Riders up the middle, because Raptor Riders in the middle can basically flex to whatever part of the battlefield they need to flex to. So they usually end up starting there. I threw the Quaddle over on that far side, because Mass didn't quite move his Zerkers to really contest that zone. In the first spot, he kind of deployed them a little far away from it. So I was like, all right, I'll just go ahead and get a quick score there to make sure that I keep up with the scoring going towards the late game. Because the thing about Raygoons is that it's even though it's a kind of boring list on the surface of it, it is like quintessential Dweg in a lot of ways. In that there's just so much D3, R4, 5 wounds on that fucking field. Like, that thing is going to grind it out with the best of them. So I'm expecting this game to go pretty late. So I want to make sure that I'm keeping up at scoring. And in the meanwhile, I move the Chosen on the opposite flank. They are getting ready to get supported by an Apex Predator and the Thunder Riders. Another Thunder Rider in the middle. I think I put the Chieftain with the Chosen on the left side. And I believe... Yeah, the Chieftain Thunder Rider unit. I think that one was like staring down your ironclads, yeah.
It really was, yeah.
One hunting pack went right up the middle. I'm trying to remember the other hunting pack. I think they both kind of went up that way, didn't they? Or no, one went to the flank with the Quaddle.
One went to the flank, and one went up the middle.
That's right. So Mass is pushing forward. I think so. My evaluation of a mistake I think you made that game was you pushed forward with basically what ended up being your weak flank in terms of like actual force allocation, because you ended up dropping your ironclads, which is like the real like meat of where your final hammer is going to land, on the side of the field where you were trying to play chicken with me. And that ended up costing you, because I think you kind of like got stuck in a spot where you're like, well, I don't want to move forward into these Thunder Riders and these
no, you just pick up stuff
and everything out there. Yeah, but at the same time, you need those ironclads to be doing things. So what ended up happening is Mass tries to catch. I think you obliterate one of the hunting packs with the Zerkers, if I remember right. Yep. And then I think you march charge the Quaddle with the Warriors with the Reg. Well, the Quaddle just withdraws and starts doing the gunline thing where it just starts shooting them. Soon after that, you know, a lot of my opening shots into you, like, were really subpar rolls. So I was like, shit, some of these opening engagements are gonna be not as good as I want them to be, because I'm not like kind of picking away at you as much as I want to be. And then the hunting pack just like ate a Magma Forged, like from a front charge, which was just some serious bullshit. Like that was like an immediate like spike on the dice that, you know, no, I didn't expect. I know you didn't expect.
No, I did not either.
Yeah. So what was already like in my opinion, like a very questionable deployment and aggressive move, like it just immediately cracked open your middle and set you on the back foot. And then from there, because Mass kind of had his two Zerkers sitting on that zone where the markers are at. And again, the Ironclads end up forcing behind that, and then like another Hold Warriors MSU there. But they're looking at a lot of power on the other side. The Apex Predator with the Predator sitting there, Thunder Chieftain, Scion, and Chosen to Conquest with their threat range. And then, of course, like there's Raptors and another hunting pack and like another Thunder Rider MSU just fucking wreaking havoc in the middle now because that shit got cracked open. That was in a really tough spot for you to be in. So like you didn't really have any safe moves forward. But while you're not moving forward, I'm going to gunline you because I can. It's like just like softening you up. And that's like, you know, I want to take a quick aside here, and to all of you WAD players that think that the Scion of Conquest doesn't have a good like spell kit, what the fuck are you smoking? The Scion has a ridiculously good kit. It is an absurdly good kit. It's obviously because of the spell, like they always talk about like it's just a damage spell now. Like Crescendo's not even that good anymore. You just get the Conquest stuck on. I'm like, first of all, there's two incredible spells. Then you get like deny scoring, and then on top of that, you get decay on something like on the zone. Like I think what people miss on that a lot of times is that range of that damage is a lot further than the 12 inches of your blast spell. So if you're just sitting there defending a weak flank, or in this situation, just kind of at this fucking Mexican standoff with your opponent, I think he took off like from like 20 inches away. He took a stand of Zerkers off you. Yeah. He just kept casting the fucking decay spell on you. Yeah.
Sucked.
Yeah. So between that, the free shots from the Predator, and like Raptors starting to move forward and shoot shit. The Quaddle like just spent like the next like 4 turns just picking away at the Hold Warrior unit until everything swept around there. And it was like I think he took the early lead, and then by the like turn 5 or 6 or whatever, it was starting to swing back pretty hard.
Yeah, that loss of the Magma Forge kind of like really broke me open, and I was like, well, I'm kind of fucked here because now you're in, and I'm like,
yeah.
I don't think the game changes. I just think you have to fight for it a little more.
I do. I think like ultimately, like the main, like that wasn't the big thing that lost you. The Ironclad's just not doing anything for most of the. That was what cost you that game for sure, because that's like a quarter of your army that's not doing what you want it to be doing. So that was the bigger thing. But that one definitely was like that wasn't good.
Yeah, and we talked about that because like if I start winning that flank, then I feel comfortable pushing forward on the Mexican standoff. But like you have 3 killer. I'm looking at it right now. The photos. You have Thunder Riders, Apex, Chosen of Conquest, Thunder Riders with Chieftain all lined up against my 2 Flame Berserkers and my 2 Ironclads. Like you're punching through that, and I need to have a positive trade into you. That's the issue I have.
Yeah. Or like you might have been able to make a game of that, like if the Zerkers, like even if it means that you end up sacking a Zerker so that the Ironclad can punch through something.
Yeah,
like that was a line of play, but I think you just like had a little bit of like decision paralysis where you weren't really quite sure where the push needed to be.
Yeah, and also like
based on how the other flank went.
Like looking at the table, your obstruction is very much farther on your right side, so you get more of your army in the middle and in the left, while my obstruction is more central, so it like splits the army a bit more, but did not help.
Yeah, good old terrain.
No,
PB events.
it's great. Yeah, so I'm not like blaming up to terrain, but it does force your like where you're gonna put stuff decisions.
Well, it's also it's why it's so important to have such a strong sense of how you want the army to engage, like different scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Because typically you can kind of gauge how you want to approach the terrain if you got that in your head.
Yeah, well done on your victory. It was a great time playing you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll rate that one a good solid 8.
Oh, thanks,
that was a
man.
fun game.
I'm
Had
glad.
a good time.
I know I was like looking at you and I was talking to myself. It's like, so what do you think? And you're like, dude, this is a tournament. I'm like, yeah, I know you're gonna win. What do you think? And you're like, no. And I'm like, all right, cool. We'll talk about it after. Oh, can we talk about Pissgate?
Pissgate?
I'm gonna call
what the
it.
fuck is Pissgate?
Oh yeah.
So like early on, Brian went off to like take a piss, and then we were kind of getting down to the end of it, and I still had a lead, but we had like I don't know, like 15-20 minutes left, and I really had to go to the bathroom, but I did not want to be that guy.
Yeah.
So it's like we played it out and everything, and I'm like, cool, thank you, I need to go.
He promptly went to the bathroom and started an online war about it that like caused a journalist to lose her job, and there's a whole culture war about it to this very day, and it's really terrible.
It's always terrible.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
will say, to your point about the losing thing, this was because Mike and Peter were playing right next to us.
Yes. And Karl and Singapore Ben.
Peter does that thing he always does where he's like, I know I'm going to lose because you're a better player and everything. I was like, Peter, stop defeating yourself.
Man.
Yeah. Just fucking play. Stop defeating yourself. Because it's also like, Peter's an awesome guy, so I don't mean to pick on him terribly here, but this is also like a PSA for everybody out there. Don't put your opponent on the spot like that. Because now they're at a point where, like, if I say that to someone and I lose, all right, well, I was always going to lose, but if I win, haha, and you should feel bad, or you're going to feel bad because you should have beat me. That sort of, like, that's just not, just fucking play the game.
Yeah.
just sit down and do your thing.
So, like, I knew when you... Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I'll say if you put yourself down, then it's 2 against 1.
Ooh, that's good.
That's deep. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. So, Brian, in our game, I was like, I'm going to give Brian my all, and we're going to see how this goes. I know Brian's better, but maybe I'll get him, and then he won't be doing well.
The thing that I will also say about Peter is, and I really hope he listens to it specifically for this part, because I'm like legitimately fucking proud of him for it, is he fucking beat the Dark Horse City-States list that Mass ended up losing to at the end, with the 8 chariots and the Aparcos.
The thing is rough.
And I think he won that game because he had no clue who the dude was.
Incredible.
He just showed up and won the game. He wasn't in his head. He wasn't like, oh, this is like a legendary tier player or something like that. Because I think that I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but like that dude's solid, and he had a really good list. And Peter just fucking played the game and won because he wasn't in his head. Because he didn't know who the guy was.
It's fair.
Play the table, not the player.
His name was Kyle.
Yeah.
No, Kyle was a fantastic opponent. I actually quite enjoyed my game into Kyle on round 6. But that list is rough, and we were talking about it after, and he's like, I really want to go to Hio, so it's like, I really want to play, and I really want to do well, and I'm like, yeah, okay, let's play. And he's literally playing a list he thinks he can do well with and get to the end tables with at Adepticon. So, like, he's making all the plays to do as best as he can through everything he's doing. Like, he's a very solid player.
Is he, I should see what his ratings are.
I think he's
I don't
like,
think he has...
He's at like 80 points or something.
That's not nearly enough for a Heos shot this year.
Yeah,
but...
right. Fucking America. You need to break like 130 points in America to like qualify. That's how... Like, looking at the leaderboards, it's like, you need a lot, and you need to participate at the big events. You need 5 big events at this point.
Yeah, like, the safe picks right now are the 3 of us, plus Peter, Andrew, and Chuck.
Yeah, because Chuck wants to go this year, if I recall.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he does.
So yeah, it's like, yeah, man, go for it. I'll play you. Because I'm in Canada, I don't care.
But anyways, are we on round 5?
We are on round 5. So now, gentlemen, Mr. Big Mike, I believe you and Karl played into each other, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, and despite my smart-ass remark earlier, it was probably my favorite game of the tournament. You don't have to say it back. But, both times I've played Karl, it has been an intense game, and while it's not insanely hard to get me sweating, I was sweating a lot that game just because it was so intense, and that's not just because of people not leaving us alone.
Do we want to do the etiquette part first?
So I do, yes. I do have 2 notes: Supremacy Plan round 5 and game etiquette. Which one do you want to do first? Do you want to do etiquette first?
Game etiquette.
Right,
we can get the Supremacy Plan as we kind of talk out the game, since we'll have time. But etiquette. So I had some people that some had plans to come talk to me, I guess, at the tournament, and then some I had talked to a little bit a couple days before, and they were like coming to ask how the game was going or something like that. But it's really you have to be conscientious of what people are doing at tables. I realize that some people are just there to walk the con, but maybe the appropriate moment to come talk to someone isn't when they're playing at top table on round 5. We had to shoo people away repetitively, and it was just kind of be conscientious of that, be respectful of the players, don't come and bug people when they are trying to play their games.
Yeah, I do agree.
And I doubt at any point we didn't both look like intense in this game.
100%. No, because, the first time it was, the dude's, leaning way over onto the table while we're, trying to, take measurements and build decks going into turn 4, and I'm like, okay, can you not? I don't even, he doesn't do it, for the record, but, even if Rolo had come over and done that, I would have been like, hey, what you doing, man? So the fact that, someone is just, randomly coming over and is like, oh, I said I was going to come talk to you, and I'm like, cool. I'm sure you're nice. I really don't care. Don't talk to me while I'm playing.
Yeah, when a game is happening, players invest a lot of their own mental and emotional time and well-being into that game, as well as their ego. And it's between the 2 players into the match is done. Basically, the building could be burning down, and I'm pretty sure some of these guys would still be like, we have to play to see who wins. The fire will decide our fates after.
Yeah, well, and I think you can tell from the players in general too. Some game, if you're sitting down, both you and the opponent are kind of relaxed, leaning back and playing. It's obviously not that stressful of a game, And there's usually some time for talking. Like I mentioned earlier, I a couple times said, "How's it going?" When Karl was playing next to me, but he's, if I recall, just sitting down. Chuck was taking his turn, rolling some dice. But yeah, if 2 people are standing, hunched over, measuring things, checking their cards, checking the board, that's when you should read the room and be like, all right, they're really into this. I'll wait till later.
Yeah.
The big one was the guys came up and they're like, "Oh, how'd your game go?" And I'm like, I literally said, "I am playing," and they said, "Well, no, I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about the last one." I'm like, "I am playing," and well, no, and then Dan Rolo comes over and basically grabs them and pulls them away, and he's like, "They're playing." He's like, "Well, yeah, but I wasn't asking about this game," and he's like, "You got to be fucking kidding me, man!"
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe
it's
diatribe over, but like,
No. Again, though, this I think emphasized. I played a lot of tabletop war games. Rolo is a fantastic judge.
yes,
he's also a fantastic bouncer by the sounds of it.
he's a fantastic person in general. Yeah, that's
I had round 3, like my round 3 opponent, his buddy. This is something that gets on my nerves when I play a lot of games, is when people enter my play space. So like I like to jump back and forth to each end of the table a lot while I play, and when someone enters that to like ogle my minis or ogle my opponent's minis or check out the gameplay and get in the way of me physically jumping back and forth, it kind of drives me up the wall because I can't do it, and I'm trying to play the game, and now I feel like I've been restricted from access to the side of my table that I might want to do stuff, and it turns off like a section of my brain of, I'm not allowed to do anything over there. I must now rethink of my plan over on this side only. So it takes a lot of like personal, I don't know, discussion with some random person to be like, move, get out of here. Don't stand beside me. Yeah, like,
his mass is basically an ant if you draw a Sharpie line in front of it.
Yeah, it's wild. I did have on round 3, so my opponent on round 3 was really nice, great guy, had a great game, but there was this gentleman who was his friend. He was like, "Oh, I'm this guy's friend. I just want to watch the game." I'm like, "Okay, cool," but he basically just stood behind me the entire game, and it kind of came to, and it was like, this is weird. I don't feel comfortable, but I'm kind of just letting this happen because it's like he hasn't done anything, and it was just weird. And eventually, I had to get a judge call, and Yanni came by, and it was like, okay, there's too many people here. I live in basically a field. This is too many people. Like, let me out. Like, everyone get away from me. Yanni, do your judge ruling. I'll come back to play once you're done, and everyone's like left the area because I can't do this anymore. Like, I don't get claustrophobic, but when you're in a tiny spot and losing more and more space as you're trying to do a game that can be close, like it drives you up the wall. So, like, also respect people's physical space.
You just like feel the tip the whole time, huh?
Yeah, like if you want to like piss me off, just stand beside me while I play a game. And like if you do it long enough, I'll probably hit you physically. So yeah, please don't do that to me. Start fights and get deported from America.
Yeah, I kept saying, this is my political joke of the night, but I kept saying that when Mass brought over beer from Canada, and I kept saying that I expected to, we weren't going to see him at Adepticon, and I was going to see him getting his head shaved in one of those El Salvador videos. But
Jesus Christ.
Anyways, we're glad Mass made it.
Thank you.
I guess we can get to Mike in this game.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, your game. Mike, you are first. You get to start.
Yeah, so this is Maelstrom, the quintessential Conquest scenario. Looking at this at the beginning, I knew there were a couple threats that I thought were going to put me on my heels. But the board had a couple things that I think were going for me. The left side had, or right side for Karl, had this piece of water terrain that was placed just so compared to an obstruction that if he wanted to come after me over there, he was going to have to spend time fighting in it, and I knew he wasn't going to want to do that. So I only had to deploy a unit of Athanatoi early to push up, and then a unit of Legionnaires to score it, because that's their job, that's what they do. Fantastic. And, predictably he didn't deploy over there. The thing that had me worried, and rightfully so, is Chosen. Old Dominion have an engine they have to get running, and one of the flimsier pieces we have is the cultists with the Hierodeacon, and the Chosen just have this huge threat range. He deployed really smart. He put him right across from where the cultists were, and I mean it was pretty much center of the board. But I did something that I tell people never to do all the time, and I don't think it was necessarily a big mistake on my part. But I put myself in a position where the next round I really, really wanted Supremacy to go off, to tip the the scales in my favor here, because had the Athanatoy gotten a side charge into his cock, then I really want to say, you got to say so much earlier, Karl. Then it would have locked those down closer to his side of the board, locked another regiment behind it, and given me more free range to do what I needed to do. And I don't fully remember the right side of the table deployment. I think we both deployed really smart over there. But it was that center that I think that turn really pushed it from neutral on both sides to me being on my heels. We talked afterwards, and I probably threw away some Morai a little too early. But I was kind of playing to this position I shouldn't have played to. And Karl, you want to talk a little bit before we go any further into this round?
Yeah. So big thing for me is, so like I said earlier in this, is that a supremacy won't change a game out. It's not the singular thing that will change it. The big thing, so I was completely cut off from access to one zone, because if I'd put slingers there, then he could limit his deployment there, put Moroi, like I would have needed to commit more than I wanted to that flank. It was my right flank, his left, but there was that piece of hindering water right in front of it, and no unit in the game, realistically, no unit in my army can really fight Athenati in water. It's not a good thing to end up in. That Athenati command stand is one of the most vicious killing machines in the game, because even when you kill 11 wounds of the unit, and that last wound is basically putting out 7 hits that are going to 7 hits with their terrifying and their kind of super 6s, because usually they're at tier 4 by the time they're getting into those blender fights. So I was going to decline that flank and commit hard to the other side. I had both my slingers, or both leaning on the left side, kind of splitting the two zones, and then they ended up kind of counter to the Moroi, and then I ended up with, so this was, I think, my mistake, that I then needed a supremacy to rectify, was I had my leftmost slinger too far over to the left. So to stop them from getting plugged up with the veterans, I had to center deploy my veterans and my Chosen of Conquest, when what I really wanted was for my veteran block to just basically run into that 9-inch zone. So we said it, I had to do a wedge deploy, and it almost bit me in the ass. Wedge deploy rarely works. It is not a good situation to end up in, and you almost always want to be declining a flank instead of doing a wedge. But I ended up with basically both my blocks running straight down that middle 6 zone, which, mind you, in this game had a piece of fucking lava on it.
It's like that water piece from Kang all over again.
Yeah, it was literally, talk about the terrain, it was, like perilous or dangerous water.
He made so many rolls in that thing. It was crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, that was generally my initial setup. To talk about the early turns, I do think, Mike's big mistake early was he traded, basically both Moroi were traded for both hunting packs. That is a trade that I take a million times every day. That is such a fantastic trade for me. Not just on points value, but just in positioning, what it does for the lists. Leaves my slingers basically unmolested for the remainder duration of the game, and that's really like the slingers were the workhorse of this game, I would say. That and the Chosen.
And this is one of those things where I got into my own head, right? Even at top especially I think at top tables, if you get into your own head and make a mistake, you just you pay for it. You took great advantage of me making those early trades that I shouldn't have, and yeah, it was great.
Oh, well done. Your supremacy plan, though. Elaborate.
Yep. So this is where we start to get in. So it was turn 1, we brought Stefan. Turn 2, end of turn 2, his Moroi made a march or translocate charge clash onto my hunting pack.
Damn.
which picked them up, but they were right in front of a unit of Chosen of Conquest. And that's where I think that mistake was, because then I had advantage for Supremacy on 3, so I won Supremacy, and the Chosen just ran the Moroi over. But they were able to do it because they were an auto-charge clash. They just charged, clashed, picked them up, and then they took their 8-inch march to just get onto the center zone, and that's basically where they were. The mistake that I made there is I put them up a little bit too far on the right angle in a position where his Athenati could have landed a 2-stand flank charge onto them.
Ooh.
This is where some of it got interesting, because he threatens, when he's on that zone, he threatens so much range, right? The triple activation or triple action, fantastic. I got my side charge, and I don't think any one roll turned this game, right? I would never say a single roll pushed it. But I think you took out of like 17 attacks, 2 wounds on the Chosen.
Which, to be clear, so this was the Supremacy turn. The Chosen were blessed. They were blessed for defense, which did make, so it's not as egregious, but yeah, they rolled a couple, they ended up rolling like maybe 2 or 3 more saves than they should have, but when they should already be saving 75%, that's a lot. And yeah, it was definitely a lot of the Chosen in general, even when they weren't blessed, they did not take the damage that they mathematically should have. And when you have a rock with 24 wounds at E2 and blessed, plus insanely high R and an interference bubble, just sitting that far forward in an OD line, it's just a nutcracker.
Oh yeah, it was brutal. And it was one of those positions too where I had to send, even though you were blessed, I had to send the Athanatoi in. Like 100%. I couldn't keep him out because you threatened again too much of my engine with him. And so while I think I played the left side of the board well by dedicating few enough things and giving me a side charge, I needed to go first to take advantage of my setup, and I shouldn't have put myself in that position. And you took great advantage of it, and
what we ended really up with, well. Yeah, I was going to say what we ended up with on the setup basis was, because we had the buildings kind of split between pretty far deep in our side, so it was basically kind of controlling the deployment. So he had, after the Moroi were gone, he had his Warlord Stratios in an MSU of Athenati and Bucephaloi kind of staring down my Slingers, the Apex, and a Vet MSU. And then he had the Carries and the Archimandrite and the Legionaries and his Caryatids and his Cultists and Hierodeacon all kind of bricked up in his back line. And so when I was building Supremacy for that turn, this was going into turn 4. This was the tense turn where, of course, we also had people trying to bug us, and it was like, okay, literally this is the worst fucking point of the game where you could be bugging us, which you already shouldn't be doing anyways.
I think this turn also was like the longest we spent building lists because we're just eyeing everything on the board and what has to activate in what order.
Yeah, because Bucephaloi are pretty scary. And I saw a line of play where I'm like, all right, if I win Supremacy, I can take this line of play. If I lose Supremacy, I might lose because not necessarily on attrition. Because what I usually find is attrition kind of comes out related to, I would generally say player skill is where it is. It's the points are usually where the individual mistakes come out. I lost less into Mike this time than I did in our last game, mostly because the Slingers just did so much fucking work that game. But he had me on the ropes because of that mistake I'd made earlier with the veteran block. So basically, in my head, I'm looking at this like I need that veteran block to get into play, and I need to make it work. So what I did was set up my deck with Chosen of Conquest, or with Scion of Conquest on top, into the Chosen, and then Chief Veterans next, with my goal being that on a Supremacy win, the Chosen of Conquest March Charge Clash, and immediately delete his Hierodeacon and Cultists. That's kind of attacking his... that's attacking his card advantage, or basically the draw card advantage, but it lets me replace the card that I will lose from entouraging. And then after that, I needed to go with my veteran block and chant with them, basically cycle the chieftain entourage into the veteran block, and have them march charge the carries to basically plug up his complete back line, leave me very safely scoring that middle zone so that I could use the slingers to kind of work my way onto the left zone.
Yeah, I think one of the things, in retrospect that really hurt too is I probably should have redirected something into finishing off the Chosen. Because even after I beat some of them down, and this would never have won me the game, but, we were talking about spells earlier, and them being able to reach out to the side while they're, not near enough to attack that left zone, but make it so I can't score in it, really help push the points. And it's a brilliant spell they have that I think I should have, again, focused a little bit harder on them. I don't know what that would have changed, if anything, but it would have gotten me at least a few more points.
This is a callback to Brian 10 to 15 minutes ago saying that if you think the Chosen or the Scion spell suite is bad, you don't know how to play the game.
Yeah.
Is that a litmus test?
I haven't seen it in a while, to be fair, but yeah, that's a hell of a litmus test.
It's not a common opinion, thankfully.
Yeah.
But I have seen it expressed, and I'm like, I don't.
Attunement 4 blast spell, plus that decay thing, plus fucking crescendo, plus scoring denial. The scoring denial is insane, especially in bread and butter Conquest with Maelstrom.
Yeah. Well, and you use crescendo like almost every round to really good set up your chance and everything. So that was just perfect.
100%.
That's what it's there for.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Karl, I feel at some point you need to put a litmus test tier list together, and I'll make a short out of it.
You really should. That'll be great.
It'd be funny.
But yeah, basically we were looking at so the turn 4, I knew he was going to call Supremacy and try to put the Athenati into the Chosen. It's one of those where I'm not really worried about them killing the Chosen, because he was only going to get 2 stands in off that charge, because I was just close enough to a building. It's more of if he gets in there, I have to use resources to reform, kill the Athenati probably, but then they're not in a good position at all, and kind of facing the wrong way. He still has his line intact. The veterans have to play safe for another turn. I probably have to use my slingers to try to zone off that middle zone while the veterans run after the BonkTable, to try to concentrate on that outer zone. So yeah, it was... What I was going to say is you don't want to hinge a game on the Supremacy. So I had an alternate plan for what happens if I lose that Supremacy, but it wasn't a good one on that turn. This was I needed to win that Supremacy to kind of pull me out of the positional mistake from having both my blocks centralized.
Yeah, I think round 5, right? So we just talked about that Supremacy roll. That didn't, lose me the game. I think round 5, I had a decent plan set up looking at things in which if I went first that round, I would be able to pull back and even the game out a bit more. Recover from my previous play, and again, throwing away the Morai a little too early. Maybe a lot too early, depends on what could have happened. But I lost the Supremacy the next round, and so I wasn't quite able to build up the momentum I had lost. And, Karl was able to keep capitalizing on it, keep pushing pressure where it needed to go. And there's no way around this, but if you let the Chosen of Conquest activate and get blessed, which they're going to try to do, it's so hard to remove them at that point.
And the best part is obviously not. You don't want to lose them, but if you're in a position where losing Supremacy and losing that block means they die, then that's actually not a bad place to be building a deck, because it's like, all right, well, I win Supremacy, but if I don't, they die, and I just have the next thing go.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. Well done. So, how'd the game close out?
I desperately was trying to win back on the score because I was so... scoring was even a little bit in my favor on the first couple turns because I was on the 2 zone and he was on the 1s. But when scoring flipped on 5 through 8, he was double scoring for a lot of those, and I was like, shit, we need to finish this up. I need to come back, and I need to clear out. So that's when we started getting into the situation where I actually need to like be using the Scion score to like turn off his scoring.
Which
and
is
that kind of
brutal,
stuff.
but good.
I pulled a couple lines of play on him. Like the Apex Predator did not engage anything that entire game. He also maybe won me the game because he was kind of playing chicken Mexican standoff with the Bucephaly while the slingers were slinging at the Athenati. And on one turn, I ended up just Conquest double marching him, not even taking a charge on the Bucephaly because Mike had positioned them very well. But I literally just marched him behind them, so that
What the fuck?
like they were they were going to have to reform and charge through hindering and get nothing to engage him at a point where I had many more cards, and I was stopping him from scoring because I had 3 stands on, and this is while the slingers were kind of sitting there at max range just fucking whipping rocks at the Bucephaly then.
This is what I love about them, though. Like, we all know what the Athanatoi do murder-wise. But the amount of times he's referenced my cows this game and having to figure out how to deal with them or planning on how to deal with them, I think just shows how good they are as a piece for forcing your opponent to make tough decisions.
Yes.
No, they're really solid. Well, good job. Well done on your victory, Karl. Also, Mike, you did pretty well. First loss, but you do get to play round 6 and see if you go 5-1. We already know the answer on that one. But Thunder Daddy, how was your round 5? What'd you get up to? Did you play anyone interesting? Did you play Wadroon some more? Is that it?
You better believe I did.
How much Wadroon did you play this entire tournament? How many games?
4.
Jesus Christ.
4 of my 6 rounds were into Wadroon.
Oh my god. So there was so much Wadroon, you basically just started eating each other.
Yeah.
Would you?
Oh, yeah. I think Apex pointed it out. I devoured like 29 stands of slingers
Oh my god.
over the course of the whole tournament or some shit like that. It's horrible. I played Ben.
Oh, sweet.
It's Blitz Minis Ben, yeah.
I remember this game because I was sitting right beside it, and I might have been a little drunk and a little high on drugs.
Yeah. As one does.
Yeah.
I would say I wish I was for for that game, but then I probably would have lost that game, so you know. Yeah, Karl described it as the raid boss. I think that is a very apt description. Like the games that I've played, it definitely feels like a certain like, all right, well, you have an absurd scenario presented before you, like almost immediately. How do you deal with it? Go. One of the things about Ben's list, or really just those kinds of skew lists that show up so early on the board, there is value in counter deploying, and I think like so if you are playing that list, then you need to have a really good, like, keen sense of, like, and this can change from matchup to matchup, and scenario to scenario, obviously, but you need a really keen sense of, like, all right, I'm going to probably need about this amount of force here, this amount of force here, these are my flex pieces, and so on. And I think, ultimately, this was Ben's downfall in this game. Partly because, you know, he was all in on 2 in this game. Like, he rolled all of his medium reinforcements in.
He has no heavies?
So he was fully on the board. And what he ended up doing... Sorry, what?
I thought he had an Apex. He had like 1 heavy or something.
Nope.
Oh wow,
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like 4 slingers, Raptor Rider, Hunter, maybe even 2 Hunters, a couple vets, Braves. Yeah, it's all just lights and mediums.
Damn, okay.
Yeah. So, and he actually expressed like unhappiness that he was all in on 2 because he wanted that final counter deploy piece, I think. So what he ended up doing was kind of a very even spread across the battlefield, where he had a slinger and a vet over on the far flank, my left flank. He had basically 2 more slingers in the middle, Hunter kind of flexing off the one side, Braves behind that, and then another Slinger and another Vet on the other flank. Raptors flexing in the middle as well. So very, very even spread across the battlefield. But what that allows me to do is to pick one side that I think is worth smashing and focus on smashing that side. So I made a couple of mistakes out of the gate. I moved the cock too far forward, like more than it needed to be, and they ate a stand of Slinger damage, which sucked. And if I remember right, I think I ended up just not, like, my hunting pack went to what was going to end up being my weak flank. But as I developed the board, I was like, man, I really didn't need anything over here. So this hunting pack was like a little bit out of the way. But they ended up actually kind of buying me a bit of value because as I moved them forward, as everything finally showed up and I was gearing up for my big play, they ended up debating his Raptors a little too far forward because they ate some Slinger shots, went down to like a stand, and then the Raptors finished them off with another set of shots. But in so doing, those Raptors got in range of my Raptors. And my Raptors were Famine Raptors, as opposed to his War Raptors. So I felt pretty safe kind of maneuvering them into a Famine position. So when the big go turn happened, on turn 4, my Raptors like ate his, including his Mounted Predator that was hanging out with them, so that was a sheer good amount of value there. And, you know, my list at this point, like, he's not softened it up nearly as much as he would want to, because of course I've tried to stay out of his Slinger range as much as possible. Which is somewhat impossible to do in that list, since he could just kind of, with free reign, just fucking flood forward. But I only ate a few shots out of the gate. And eventually there was like this weird moment where like I had a hunting pack leap forward, and like where they should have deleted the Slinger, they actually, like, the Slinger lived on like a wound or two.
Oh.
But then like his Slingers like tried to finish off a Raptor that they had shot the shit out of the turn before. But like the Raptor lived off of that as well. So he tried to Chieftain Impacts charge it to finish it off, and it still fucking lived. So like we were both in this weird spot that completely fucked up both our plans, because like I had a Thunder Rider unit right behind that was going to try and break through with that Slinger unit supposed to be cleared, and snipe his Matriarch Queen. But I ended up having to slow it down a little bit because that thing lived longer than I expected it to. But really, from that point onward, it was kind of just, you know, the sheer amount of power that my stuff brings. Excuse me, God, my voice is falling apart now. That my stuff brings on the threat range and the actual like impact of what when it actually lands. I just started chewing through his units, and I think he kind of lost sight of how he needed to play, because, you know, if you're playing that list and then now you're starting to like be pushed back, you need to basically play for points, especially on Maelstrom. But he started taking some very aggressive moves where he was kind of assuming, like, he was starting to move off of points, march charge, and it kind of locked me back beyond the points that I can't get on and score. But what that basically ended up doing is, you know, he was march charging with like Braves and like getting, or I think it was Blooded actually, and like getting into a slog out fight with a Thunder Rider unit. The Thunder Riders are going to win that in a turn or two. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, something that I do know for certain, just from talking with him at dinner, especially in our game, is that I know he is the best player in Singapore by a long shot.
Yeah.
And he does not play against, as he put it specifically, he doesn't play against technical players a lot, and he wants to do it more, and he likes doing it. Yeah. So it's kind of, we brushed on it a little bit with Matt and Apex. It's kind of these Slinger spam lists sometimes don't really know what to do when they're confronted with someone who knows what their list does and who knows how to play into Slingers. And that was kind of that's just kind of the thing here. Like, there's so many Slingers, so much of the power is in there that Ben didn't really know what to do when Brian and I both knew how to play into Slingers very well.
He's like, it's turn 5, we're still playing? Oh, shit. Usually people fold by now.
Yeah, I've had the same thing with some like local Wadroon players who are like, oh, everyone just picks up after turn 4, and I'm like, no, we're here for the grind, have fun.
This is the problem with the Punch Down faction.
Yeah. I did. Ben's an awesome guy. He gave me one of my favorite compliments I've ever gotten playing Conquest because like he was like starting to inch forward his far veteran block with like a chieftain in there and the slingers, and like I think this was like turn 4. It was I think it was either end of 4 or going into 5, and I had like the Thunder Chief brick still wasn't committed yet, and he like kind of shuffled his stuff forward, expecting me to commit with them. And I was like, if I do, then your slingers shoot the shit out of me, or rather I kill the slingers and then your vets just kill me in return. So I just like paused for a notice, and he was like, you're still not committing? You're like a monk! You even look like one! It's like, yeah, man. Now's not the time. Gotta find the right engagements. What he ended up doing with that veteran brick to that point was that he actually just like, I think he ended up march charging. Yeah, he march charged the Thunder Riders, if I remember right. Because I think he assumed that he was going to live through a turn of fighting. And then the Thunder Riders were like, Karl knows. Thunder Riders were like, War 1 chant. Yeah, you're dead.
I'm not
like,
gonna lie. War 1 chant is it's just like, oh, and they now have access to cleave. Great.
Yeah. So, yeah, there was eventually... I was able to have all my lights die first and foremost, as is the goal of that list, and then all the mediums and the heavies started to grind stuff out. And by the end of the game, I think I was triple capping, and I had a Thunder Rider in each, or on 2 of the zones, and then an Apex Predator on the final zone.
Yeah, because I remember that game getting very close to time, and you were behind, and I was like, man, is it gonna time out? And like, is Ben gonna have the score because he just got on points early? Like. I was kind of worried there because we were all like, are we only going to have a 5-round Adepticon?
Thankfully, like it was definitely getting down to time, but like he and I were both saying the whole time, like we got plenty of time to finish this. Because like once you reach like turn 6 or 7 into a list like his, like there's like a couple engagements left and you roll some dice and that's that. So like we basically, like I think I wiped him on like turn 7 and I scored it out for the final few turns and that was that.
Yeah. What's like, congratulations on your win. Well done into the raid boss, that is Ben.
Thank you. I will also rate that game an 8. Ben's an awesome guy, and that was a really fun game.
Yeah.
I will give, right, but Mike and I didn't rate our game.
Well, Mike did.
Wait, he rated it out of the gate, and then you ignored him.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he said it was his, wait,
it was his favorite game. Oh, yeah.
I know it was his favorite game.
So yeah. Probably at least a 9.
Yeah, I'd give ours a 9 or a 9.5. Definitely.
I lost, so a 2. No, I'm just kidding.
Ben's first loss, 2.
I'd definitely say it was 9.
That's good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Definitely in my top 10 favorite games.
It's what I loved about that game, and again, our first game in LVO was I think equally just awesome. But being able to sit there in such a tense moment and still be able to joke with your opponent, like I think Karl and I were just talking shit the whole time. I think round 1 or 2, I was like, hey, if you just want to concede right now while I got this 1 point, I'll accept it. And he's like, oh, maybe next round if I get some more points, I'll give you the same offer. And it's just nice to be able to have fun even in such a tense game.
That's really good.
It's also really funny when people who have only really ever interacted with me on Discord interact with me in real life.
They are not ready for it.
But yeah, no, it was an awesome game.
Yeah. All right, so round 6, you gentlemen are playing into Forlorn Hope. Big Mike, I believe you had to play. I want to say Singapore Ben, right? Because there was another reshuffle, or did you play? Okay.
This was another. And again, I played King. No shade to King. It was a great game. But yeah, I was supposed to play Singapore Ben, and I was so excited to do it because, I mean, we all saw the list, and what I always thought was if the list is in the hands of somebody who's new or doesn't know the game, it's going to get rolled really easily. But in the hands of somebody who knows how to pilot and play the game well, it's going to be an epic list to play against. And so after finding out who it was and seeing what they did with it, I wanted to play against Ben so bad. And we even looked across each other, like, hey, we're playing, Mike. And I'm like, yeah, sweet. And then they did the repair.
Yeah, why did they do a repair? Was it because the app fucked up?
Dropped after round 5.
Okay.
There were a few 3 and 2, I think there were a few 3 and 2 and 4 and 1 drops after round 5.
Really, a bunch of 4 and 1s dropped.
Draws.
Sorry, Mike.
But not drops, but draws. Like people
okay.
just and I guess some dropped, but yeah.
Oh, okay. So who did you actually end up playing anyway?
I played Kang. It was my third Wadroon of the day, or of the con. So not quite as many as some people, but still 3 Wadroon lists is more than enough to face in one tournament. He had a pretty solid list. He was running the double slingers, the double raptor hunting packs. He had a Quaddle Apex, I think. I think he had chosen, but I can't remember, to be honest. But it had a lot of what I expected. And Forlorn Hope, I think, is one of the rougher matches for Old Dominion, or at least my Old Dominion to go into, because I so often take advantage of a 17.5-inch reinforcement line that not being able to do that and having to march up from the back gets a little bit frustrating. We had a really good game. I will say this. I think he opened with the wrong strategy against me. So Forlorn Hope, has those 2 center objectives, and he focused really hard on getting those 2 right away, or as soon as he could. Which he wanted to get ahead. We talked about this afterwards. He wanted to get ahead of points and then just try to hold me off and keep that lead. The problem with that and his setup is, so he got the hunting pack. He got into mine early, right? Because he wanted to get rid of mine first because it's easier to deal with. So he dedicated slingers into it in a hunting pack. He took it out. I took out his hunting pack and was able to start pushing forward. He brought on his Wing Lord. I had my Legionnaires moving on to a zone to take it. I was pushing up with a Thanatoy and Morai on one side and a Thanatoy on the other. And he dedicated a second round, and I think this was the biggest mistake he made, is he dedicated into getting rid of that objective closest to him. And what that did is, with him not dedicating his slingers to killing me and dedicating his Wing Lord to going after it, he took the pressure off me, and that let me just start pushing to the center of the table that I normally would have had it been any other scenario. And so that just, I think, put him on his heels more than he expected it to. The other thing he did is he made the mistake of charging into my Legionnaires that were on the zone to take it from me. He got me down to 1 stand, and then he forgot that they pump. And so for anybody out there, if you're going after the Legionnaires, you either need to take them out or you wasted your time. Like if they're on a zone and you're trying to stop them. So even though we went in there, I was able to still score. And what was worse for him is, because he pushed so far into me to try to stop me from taking the points on that closest zone, is I had a unit of Morai that got the side charge into the bird, and they did enough wounds into it that I think when he activated next, Aura of Death killed him because he had like 1 wound left.
Oh.
And so from that point on, it was just, I had too much advantage on him. I had stolen card advantage. Had he ignored the objective marker closest to him and spent more time dealing with my units than trying to get the early points, I think he could have had it. Because if you look at our score, and he tracked it on his app, he's ahead of me for like the first, I think, 4 rounds, right? But once we get to round 5, I've now got more zones. I've killed enough of his guys that he can't quite grab as much as he needs to. The moo cows are pushing in aggressively, and they're at the point where he eventually gets them down to like 1 stand. But even that 1 stand, as it's moving around the board, taking hits from a reduced slinger unit, is able to do the scoring and do what I need to do. He charges in with his Apex to try to get to the Legionnaires. I'm able to get a side charge. I think his 9-inch zone that's closest to him I have my Athanatoy and another unit behind them, or off to the side, and he's trying to get his apex around. But because I engaged him so far back, his apex is now having to spend at least a whole nother turn reforming, trying to move around it. And when he gets around to that other one, rather than engaging the apex, I pull back and shift behind my Athanatoy unit. So he has to then spend another whole turn moving his apex around rather than getting the charge on something that he wanted. And so I kind of use the tactic that he tried using against me, where once I'm holding the zones, I hold off as much as I need to, and I try to stay ahead of him the whole time. And yeah, that was kind of the turning point. The carries got a lot of insanity shots off, and blocked a lot of hits, so they did their job as well.
Nice, well done. So that put you at, if I recall, 5-1, and you gained third place. It's really strong. Yeah, really good. And
yeah, it was great.
I think you're also number 1 in America and maybe number 1 in the world because of that.
Yeah. Currently, there might be more tournaments where somebody like Karl or somebody else can snipe it from me, but I'm going to hold that medal for as long as possible.
Yeah, no,
I don't think I am, and I think I'm the only one who's close.
There's like a 9-point difference, and Karl's where he needs to be.
Yeah, I'm honestly, it's kind of one of those. I've been playing a lot. I'll still keep playing Conquest, but I've been doing a lot of tournaments, traveling a lot. Just kind of one of those. I don't really need to now, and just moved into a new place. Just kind of want to take the summer to do summer things. Play Conquest when I can. But really, yeah, I'm just kind of taking a break.
He's got to relax and build up the momentum for Hios.
Well, hopefully I'll get to trash him on the beach then.
Oh, you gonna suplex him into the ocean? Oh my god! If we end, 3 of us could probably suplex Karl into the ocean.
If I'm fighting back,
that's okay. There's 3 of us. Just grab onto your giant arms.
Oh, that's true.
All right, so now we're going in the finals. Karl, I believe you are playing someone in this call.
Yeah.
We
played.
Is it the Thunder Daddy?
I'm not going to call it that.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Who would like to go first? Karl, would you like to go first on your guys' game? Because I came over after mine, and it was like, oh, they are still playing. They are very intent. Everyone is watching, and everyone is silent. I'm just going to go wander off.
I don't know if I'm going to put this... I don't know if I should say this at the beginning or at the end, mostly because of some comments that were made in the middle of it. But I'm going to give... I'll just start off. I'm going to give it the 10. This is the only game of Conquest that I have played that hits the level of what that LVO game with Ben was. We almost drew. It could have flipped at various points. It got him down to his last 9 wounds in the list. It was legitimately 9 wounds. Less than 10 is all that he had left. I was tabled. It was a hell of a game.
Damn.
I had to call the judge over at the end. Make sure the scoring was right.
Yes.
All shebang. Ditto on the score. I'm going to aim for... if you don't mind, Karl, I'm going to let you take the reins, as a matter of fact, because I'm going to aim for some amount of brevity on my own end.
Okay.
It's getting to the end here. I got to hop off this sucker.
Yeah. No, I feel you there.
Welcome to BonkTable, gentlemen.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I give King a solid 7.5, 8.
Nice job, King.
Very good.
Yeah, I think I'll just come in with we played the game. We both punished mistakes that were made. We've talked about those mistakes in the back end, but basically, I took a very early lead on this. I used Slingers and Hunting Pack to secure both markers in turns 2 and 3 respectively. Hunting Pack made a charge, plus the Slingers hitting them from 18 inches out, so I was able to almost immediately pick both markers and get a scoring lead. I was pretty centrally deployed. I declined the right flank. Had my Chosen of Conquest and one Hunting Pack deploy opposite his Chosen of Conquest and Hunting Pack. His Apex was deployed on my weak flank. His Quaddle came in on my strong flank on the right side. His Thunders were pretty much lining the back. His Raptors were fairly centralized, but leaning left side. They actually ran left side as the board developed. But yeah, it was a classic declined flank. For both of us, I would say. Really, the advantage comes from with his list is he's able to generate more threat projection on his declined flank by leaving Thunder Riders in march charge range of the objective that I'm pushing for, whereas on his side he only had to get his Apex Predator, because it's mounted, up a little bit onto my declined side, and then he can just kind of sit there.
Yeah. Pretty much, like, I was looking at that field, because, Karl's list is more or less decided on turn 2 already. So I'm looking at that field and I'm like, okay, yeah, with the 2 blocks over on that side, we just go away from there, and we'll put the Thunder Riders towards the middle, so that they can flex if necessary. But the between the Raptor Riders and the Apex Predator moving up on the strong side, they should be able to punch through what I think he had, like a veteran, a slinger. It was a soft.
Yeah, it was a veteran and a slinger. Basically. It was a pretty soft flank.
Yeah. So that was the wager. And the Quaddle is what I kind of went back and forth on whether or not that was my mistake.
I think it was. That or the Chosen of Conquest hunting pack exchange.
That was the other one. Because the Quaddle kind of just like... The Quaddle feels like a little less of a mistake simply because of how tight the scoring was, and Karl's deployments are always tight enough that the Quaddle's not going to get that much value. Usually in our games, it ends up tying something up and then dying for it. And so it's a question of whether I kind of maximize off of that trade. But in that game, it kind of just it picked up the zone and then got slingered to death.
Yeah, it basically... I had the card advantage on 3, so his Quaddle came onto the zone, my slingers walked up and hosed half of its wounds, and then the next turn they just picked it up.
Yeah. But 2-point game.
Yes. Yes,
2 points right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I go back and forth on that one. The bigger one, you're right, I think was definitely the Chosen of Conquest, because that between the hunting packs not exploding into each other like we kind of expected them to, and my decision to go ahead and start that fight in the woods instead of backing up and just forcing you to have to all right, well, if I want to turn this flank now, I've got this Chosen unit that I still have to deal with over on the other side.
My hunting pack made a turn 3 charge clash onto his hunting pack and actually didn't kill it because I rolled horribly. And then he rally clashed and broke me, which actually left his hunting pack stranded, or basically they were plugging his Chosen of Conquest in a gap between a building while mine were coming up behind them. So they ended up getting stuck for a turn. But then next turn, his Chosen of Conquest made a march charge clash into mine, but it was through a forest and they just kind of bounced off. Oh. Mine swung back and almost killed him. My big mistake was attempting to kill his Chosen with between 2 turns of spellcasting. He only had 3 wounds left, and I was just trying to blast it off with with my caster. But because I didn't just go for the guaranteed kill, I ended up losing an extra stand and a half from what I should have. And also it delayed them moving up by a little bit, which ended up costing because everything at the end of this game, everything died. Except his Thunder Riders, which had 9 wounds left into the Thunder Chief. And that was, they had those wounds left after they took a March Charge Clash from 2 stands of Chosen plus the Scion. And if I'd made that clash a couple turns earlier, it would have been 3 stands. And that would have actually pushed it into... I rolled a little rough on those dice, not too bad. He rolled a little well on the defensive, but if I'd had that 3rd stand, I would have almost guaranteed the break, and then on the break, he doesn't kill me on backswing, is the big one.
Yeah, exactly. That was the key turning point, because I think my Chosen ended up eating, 2 of the stands of yours over the course of this fight, so if you had kept that 3rd one, that would have been huge.
And I could have made it 1.
Yeah.
Damn.
Absolutely.
That's a good game of Conquest.
Yeah. And the thing we were checking with at the end of the game with the scoring was like, can you score 2 zones with a single regiment? And in the core rules, you can't. But in the tournament rules, you can.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they supersede the core rules.
Yeah, exactly. So if we were playing...
Yeah.
If we were playing core rules, Karl runs away with that game. Because the Apex was double scoring for a lot of that game. And Karl couldn't actually take the second zone on the other flank because the Thunder Riders were there. So that was how I was like kind of clawing my way back into it. And then, yeah, like you said, like with the just like 9 wounds left on the one unit, it kind of moved up and then started double capping again, and it just ended up being, I think it was like 28-26.
Yes.
Remember right? Yeah.
Damn.
So right down to the wire. Very fucking good game.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on your win, Brian. Well done, Karl.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys did great. All 3 of you did great. Like, you really showed the pinnacle of Conquest, especially North America. Some might even say the world.
I would confidently say North America.
Yeah, confidently North America. We'll find out in Heos of the world.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so there's a couple things I would like your opinions on before we wrap this up. There are prizes, the 411, and Adepticon's faction spread, and what you want next out of Conquest after this. Which one would you like to start with?
Prizes.
All right, prizes. Karl, you spoke first, so you get to talk about prizes.
Yeah, so especially major tournaments like this, don't give. I'm sorry, don't give prizes to the bottom players before the top. It happened at LVO. I actually got really mad because the prize that I wanted was taken by my shitty round 1 opponent, who, again, least favorite opponent I've ever played. But anyways, yeah, Yanni tried to do it again for this one, and we were like, okay, yeah, no, not flying this time. Like, don't let the people who placed Wooden Spoon take the $100 prizes when the top tables haven't gone yet, I guess, is the real thing.
Didn't someone try to go for the number 1 prize, and they had to be blocked by, like, Rollo or something?
Probably. I don't know. I wanted the Archangel, and I got it, because it was like, and he was like, oh, we're gonna give it to the, like, we'll do all the painting prizes and stuff, which wasn't part of the main prize pool, and they're like, oh, and then we'll, like, raffle some stuff off, and then give some bottom, and then we'll let the top go, and I'm like, yeah, no. Yeah. Sorry, we're not doing that.
So are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, I get that one. Brian,
I'm gonna say real fast here.
Yeah, Brian, Mike,
I do have to get off.
Oh, okay.
I gotta go. But it was good talking to you all. It was good reminiscing about this wonderful tournament.
Okay, you have a good one, man. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys be easy.
All right. Mike, what are your thoughts on prizes? Or do you have to go?
Oh, I go, Karl. Right, like this was one of those ones where I think they're very excited to get new people in, and that is great, and to boost the younger players. But for those of us who are really heavily into it, who put all the time and effort and all that stuff, it's we played hard. We played tough matches, and while we had fun, like, you want to be rewarded for your hard work, and that's why players get medals and first pick surprises, right? So yeah, 100% with Karl on that. Let your hard playing winners get their choice first.
Yeah, like I don't mind if your top 3 go first, and then let's say your bottom 3 go first, and then it goes out from there, or sorry, not go first, but go after. Simply because usually the worst players, you're like, okay, here's some prize support so you can build out whatever you're doing and get additional stuff. But you also need to reward your top guys because they're looking to push the game and also push themselves.
And they are historically the people who pay the most to come to your events.
Yeah. The other thing that I would say, it wasn't a big deal this tournament because we wanted different things, but because they were going from third place to first for awards and medals, I got to pick before Karl, and so if I wanted to be a jerk, I could have snagged the Archangel he wanted. I knew what I wanted already, and like I said, it didn't matter because we all wanted different things from the pile. But I also think first player, second player, then third player should get the pick.
Yeah, and I do know it's always the build up of third, second, first, but also just all right, we can I don't know. Maybe you can have a pause break in it and be like, okay, first pick, second pick, third pick. Okay, wooden spoon, go ahead and grab something. Blah 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 blah. From there, like I don't know. Maybe something better. They should look into it or have the community build something, because that's usually how it goes. The community just takes whatever they have and just like makes it better, or what works for the community.
And we had time before we stood up there. They could have pulled the three of us over and said, "Hey, pick your three prizes. We'll give them to you when we do the picks." Right?
Yep, that works too. Yep. All right, 411. I know Karl has opinions on this. Please go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Basically, there were some 4-1s that drew in the last round. I get it. It's a long game. It's a long day. No one really wants to play that round 6, even the top tables. It's just a little bit of an optics thing, and there were already some weird optics on this tournament anyways. Also, just like, it's certainly the intention is you don't want to, like, as Dan said, he can't force someone to play a game, and you don't want to drop someone who's 4-1 going into round 6. But you really should be playing the games. Drawing is one thing, but just kind of agreeing to a draw and not playing the 6th round, probably, it shouldn't necessarily be happening.
Yeah, and it happened higher up in the tables. Like, I didn't expect it to go so high, but it was the point where, like, when we were standing across each other, Kang was like, "Hey, do you want to play?" And I'm like sweating because I'm like, "Yes." And he goes, "Oh, good, I want to play too." And I'm like, "Oh, thank God!" Like, it shouldn't have been so stressful to look at your opponent and be like, "Hey, are we going to play this game?"
Yeah. Well, like, if one person wants to play and the other one doesn't, that is just a drop, or it's just a loss. Like, that's all there is to it. It is a little. The problem with the optics, especially, is when you have 4 draws in the last round, then all of a sudden, losing that last round, even if you go in at a 4-1, is really rough. I mean, that's like that's what happened to me at Heos. Like, I slipped up into 3rd because there were so many draws in that last round on Maelstrom. And then once you get past the draws, you're starting to look at like 7th place. Like, you have the top 4 that were actually the 6-0 and the 5-1s, and then after you get past the draws, now you're like almost outside the top 10.
I got 10 because of that.
Yeah.
I think if those guys played, I would have ended up at 7th. So, like, I'm not angry they did it or anything, because it's like, we should do this. I'm like, sure, I don't care. Like, I'm already have enough points to go to Heos. I don't care at this point. From my perspective, it was very much a don't let one of your friends lose enough points to not be able to go kind of thing, because it is like a point getter. Like, Adepticon is something where you're going to gain a lot of points from if you place really well, and it's like you and your buddy are also trying to get points to go to Worlds. It really sucks having to play at the last round to then have someone drop down super far. So, like, that's my counterpoint and devil's advocate of the whole situation. Yeah. Okay, my next question for you, gentlemen. The Adepticon faction spread. A lot of Wadroon, a lot of city-states. Not very much 100k, or Dwag or Sorcerer Kings. What was your thoughts when you saw a lot of Wadroon?
Like I said at the start...
Surprised.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I played Wadroon because it's what I could borrow on short notice. I would have played city-states if that's what Jeff had wanted me to play. Also, a lot of Old Dominion.
Mm-hmm.
So really, the lack of 100k surprised me, but I think a lot of 100k players had Ashen Dawn built out, and they wanted to play other things. And a lot of 100k players, if they started out with 100k, have grown into other armies just anyways. Spires and Dweg need reworks. Doesn't surprise me. Sorcerer Kings also kind of rework.
They need a city-states rework where they just like need a decent touch-up.
Yeah.
Their issue is they can't keep up with the early game right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like the elephant in the room, because there was that one Polish list with the 7 goals that I said was bad and pissed some people off. But it was like, okay, I see how this is winning games, but what's it going to do in a competitive Wadroon? And the answer, as shown by that tournament they had in Roklaw, was fucking nothing.
No, it did well, but it didn't win.
Yeah, because it got steamrolled by Comp Wadroon. So, like, your answer to anything is, how is it dealing with Comp Wadroon? Ghost Jail? Ghost Jail could do it well. That's why third place list over there was also a double Moroi. It was a little bit different. I think they're still running the Prate block. I can see why, but like they're still running the double Moroi over there because that's our answer to competitive Wadroon. Nords kind of have some answers with stuff, especially Golter spam. City states have their answers. And yeah, that's just kind of where the meta's at. I think like the larger, because the faction spread is always going to be skewed by what's popular, what's got good new stuff. Everyone likes the dinosaurs. I think the bigger thing is over half the Wadroon players were in the top 16.
Yeah, that's kind of a sign of Wadroon being good.
And over half the top 16 was WAD. Now, granted, you look at that, and it's like, okay, so Apex and Kang only own WAD. I'm always going to expect to see them in the top 16. Brian and I consistently place where we do, regardless of what we're playing. Blitz Mini's best Singaporean player, expected him to be up there regardless of what he was playing. So it's kind of there's like a lot of factors that go into it, but to be honest, like it's more seeing things like, to be honest, okay, like Steve losing that game to a relatively new player that's where you kind of start to look at some of these things and we're like, okay, this is where the faction being overpowered is manifesting. Like we're looking at who is losing to Wadroon, and you have hardened players losing to relatively new Wadroon players, and that's where it kind of starts to manifest for me, I think.
Of like Wadroon being too good?
Yeah, just the strength level of what Wadroon is, because the game is even Stavros admitted he doesn't love it, and wants to kind of change where we're going off of in the future, but like it's a hyper chess with piece trading and that kind of stuff. So your glass cannon army with better threat ranges than anyone else is almost always going to be the strongest faction in that kind of dynamic.
Yeah. I was talking to Skillen about this on like the ride home, where it's kind of like you're a fighter, like you're a boxer or something, and your list, like the pieces you bring are your muscles, while the knowledge and how, like, your knowledge of the game and your technical skills, like your technical ability as a fighter. So like so it kind of goes into like how good are your muscles and how good is your technical ability. And like if your technical ability is way above someone else's, it doesn't matter how much muscles they have, you're gonna beat them. But if it like starts getting pretty close and your technical ability is still higher, but they have better muscles, they're gonna beat you or put you on the back end where it can flip flop, because they just have something that's better to you and it's just close enough at this point.
Yeah. If I'd brought Spires, I don't know how many of my game's outcomes would have changed. It would have made the game with Mike and Blitz very different and
for marksman clones?
Yeah,
raid boss into raid boss?
Quad marksman, it's scary for Moroi, but it's also kind of hard to shove that onto the field. Siege is really good at cracking things. Siegebreaker can actually fight Athenati in water, ironically. But,
yeah, but I'm throwing my cows at those.
Oh, 100%, 100%.
That's the kind of matchup I was talking about earlier, too, that you really want those guys for.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
one of those, like, yeah, I generally, like, those tight games become more contentious if I'm playing a less competitive faction. But I don't think I could outright say, oh, I would have lost this game if I had played a different faction.
Yeah, that's fair. The game changes itself, I know that. Like, how you play it, how you handle it changes based on what you got. Big Mike, what are your thoughts on that? The Adepticon faction spread?
I think Karl really touched on all of it in a really solid way. He commented on the factions that need a touch up. I was actually surprised to see anybody playing Hot Girl Summer, Fallen Divinity.
Nice.
That's what I call it. I've done it for ages. I yell it when I move her across the board. It's hot girl summer. I was actually surprised to see that. And I'm kind of with Karl on where Wadroon is right now. I don't think, they're going to win every single game. But, kind of like we've talked about, they have enough pieces that are so good that, you need less of a technical knowledge to be able to run them.
Yeah, it's just your muscles. Your muscles are just bigger than your opponents, and it just kind of goes from there. What would you gentlemen like to see coming out of Conquest next after Adepticon? Like, what are some changes, positive, negative, whatever your thoughts are for like what happens next at Conquest? Because like Adepticon is because you have so many players at one event, you kind of get to see a really good spread of the game. What would you guys like to see change?
You want to go first, Karl?
I'll let you go first.
Okay. I would really like to see early game be less important. I feel like right now getting more lights on and dominating the early table presence and pushing people back is just insanely strong, and any faction that can't put out lights fast enough is at an immediate disadvantage, especially against, we're saying it right now, so Wadroon, right, Hunting Pack, Raptor Packs, like they're just so nasty. Morai. I don't agree with every change people say should go to Morai, but I do think they need toned down. So just being able to make it more of a mid-game progression that you kind of see advance. The other thing, and I've talked to others about this, is we really need, I think, a pass mechanic. I think it would be great in the cards if your opponent has more cards than you do, that you get X pass cards until you have the same amount as them. So you still have to build the deck. Because the other thing is right now, people who want to run chunky blocks or fewer regiments are at, I don't know if it's an extreme, but I'll call it an extreme disadvantage to those running like 13 card lists, where I can just out activate you, and my last 4 activations are getting all of the alpha strike that I need. Those are really the two things that I would really like to shift for the health of the game.
Okay, I agree with you. Like, the past card mechanic could be interesting. Maybe they'll print new cards because I don't sleeve my cards, and people look at me funny when I do it. I'm like, I just don't care, guys. It's fine. Karl, what are your thoughts? What would you like to see happen next at a Conquest, or changes you'd like, or whatever?
I'm gonna pull the NDA card.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that is a-okay.
You can just say I'm right. That would
yeah, you know what? You'd be like, yeah, Big Mike's right. All hail.
Say most of the things that I'm concerned about are things that Mike is also concerned about, and most of the things that I'm concerned about are being addressed very shortly.
The secrets. Oh no. Oh boy. This comes out tomorrow, by the way. What is the 18th? And I think that update gets revealed on the 24th, so a week from now.
It's like the day before my next tournament.
Yeah. When does that update actually come out? I think it was supposed to be like revealed on the 24th, out on the 18th or something. Who knows?
I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. NDA, we know, Karl, your NDA, it's fine.
I don't actually know exactly when it's dropping.
He's just being polite.
I will say this though, like as much I think rightful shit as we gave like the start of the tournament stuff, I think Parabellum has done a really good job overall since I've started playing of listening to players and making adjustments. I may not agree with everything they do, but it seems like they care and really want their game to like be successful and well run.
I agree with you on that one. It's there. Yeah, I do agree. There's times where it's like, what the fuck is happening to like, please do something. Anything is better than what we currently have. And then they change stuff to the better, or they just change stuff. And you're like, okay, there's something new. Let's figure it out. Yeah. With that, I'm kind of out of questions. Thank you, gentlemen, for sharing your matchups, your lists, your thoughts about Adepticon. It was really in depth. Posthumous, thanks to Brian, who had to bounce a little early. I think he was trying to go to bed. So thank you a lot, gentlemen. I hope you guys both had a great time on the podcast.
Yeah.
100%.
Cool. So with that, we're gonna hit to that outro music. If you want to subscribe to the BonkTable YouTube channel, if you want to listen to this on like Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Podbean, that's also available. Follow Cassandra on Twitter and join the BonkTable Discord in the description below so that you can bother these two gentlemen in Discord, in person, live, or through the internet or whatever. With that, thank you very much. Bye!